pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marty?
Amy Blackdeer. Here. Michaela Conlon-View.
Here.
Casey Weiss.
Present.
Jeanette Simonson.
Here.
Nick Halstead.
Here.
Iftikhar Memon.
Here.
And Brad Dobbs.
Here. And has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. We have one public comment. All right, we can go ahead and start the stream. All right, good. Okay, I am going to move item 8.1 to the next item because we have a guest here tonight. But we have to actually move it forward. So there's a motion.
Second.
Further discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Now our honored guest is up.
Now you're up, Mr. Shepherd.
Hello?
It doesn't actually amplify in the room, it helps the speakers catch it for the live stream.
That's embarrassing.
You're certainly not the first to do it.
I know, but I thought I'd like learn the lesson. I did not. Well, good morning there. Good morning, good afternoon. It's been a long day, first day back. So we're here tonight to talk about AP test scores and kind of what they mean. I really would like any questions that you guys have as we go, just to interrupt and ask anything and everything. But let's go ahead and start. So this year at Black River Falls High School was an amazing year in terms of AP test scores. But before we go through, I just want to give you a little story about what the testing environment is like for our AP students. In the movie Top Gun, for those of you that have seen that, there's a scene in which Maverick and Goose are leaving the training room, and Goose stops at the sign and says, "Hey," actually there's two O's in Goose. And it's this bold statement of like, you know what? That's gonna be my name right there, and you better know how that's spelled. And then they leave, and I'm like, as a kid, I remember thinking like, that's some confidence. So as we get ready for the national exam, you can feel the kids starting to get stressed about, you know, we've poured so much time and energy into getting to this point where I have to build their confidence. And I had this student who we kind of all thought was gonna maybe score a 5. Now what a 5 means is a couple things. One, most universities will give you 6 credits of electives if you score a 5. Mrs. Seacard at the high school helped me just run some very simple numbers. Through the University of La Crosse, a single credit's about $420. So if you can get 6 of those by spending $95 to take one exam, that's a huge payout. So this one student, everybody kind of thought maybe the student would score a 5. And they're looking at the numbers outside my room, and the student walked up there and was looking. I've never had a 5 for AP World History. Looking, and the student looked at it and went, "So that's where my name goes right there?" And the student just walked away, and everybody was like, "That's the most confident thing I've ever seen a student say." And the student this year was the first student that I've ever been successful or fortunate enough to have score a 5. And I did a happy dance, emailed them right away. I was like, that's an amazing feat. So when you look at the scores for the national exam, regardless of what the subject is, a score of a 2 means that you are college ready. That means you are not there like yet, but at the time in which you enter college, you will have the skills necessary to be successful. 3 is the target. Not only are you successful, but almost every university will give you 3 elective credits at the university. For world history, it'd be just your entry-level history class. And then a 4, some universities give you 6 credits, some don't, but 3 is that target. Not only was I fortunate enough to have a 5, but if you look at the scores up on the screen or what you have in front of you, we had a student in our AP Calc program score a 5 as well. And that's Miss Ashley Wright's. This was her first year teaching AP Calc. For those of you that have been here for a while, we have not had a person score in AP Calc since Tim Young left, so it's been a couple of years. But by and large, it was a banner. So I'm going to pause there because I rambled a lot. Are there any questions before I kind of hammer through the rest of this?
Just to be clear, Mike, you have taught, across the top you have the AP World over a course of a couple of years, and then down below you have all the rest of the AP classes for this current year, right?
Correct.
Have you taught AP World all of those years?
Yeah, and we're going to ignore the very first column because that's the COVID column.
Okay.
So we're going to pretend that that data does not exist. I know that you guys like data, but don't ever look at that data. That was, just to give you a little bit of background, the test is mid-March or mid-May, and it fluctuates based on a week or two. So when COVID hit, and they just said, you know, hey, well, maybe we'll see you, and maybe we won't, and then we're like, okay, we are never going to see you again. 3/4 of my AP kids, that was it. I never saw them, so all the studying that we were going to do remotely just vanished. That was College Board's first year of doing everything digitally, and so I had a student that called me crying because she couldn't get her College Board password to log in, and so we finally got her in testing, and we had some people score, but it was definitely not what I had hoped for my very first year. So for each of the years going across the top, we have the average score for the high school. I'm the only one that teaches it. What the average was for the state of Wisconsin, and then what was the average for the globe. This year, for example, Wisconsin, 3,359 students took the AP World Test, and 380,996 took it globally. So that student that I told you that scored a 5 was one of the top 11% in the globe that scored a 5. So 11% of all students globally, and if the car, I did the numbers for you, that's 41,909 people. This student was one of those 41,000. So yeah.
Will we be getting them like a Tom Cruise starter kit, like a Maverick kit of some sort?
I love every
At least the mirrors
ounce of
like that.
that suggestion, and I think Brad, like, you can just table that and be like, yeah, we're
We'll
gonna do
pick
that.
that up later.
Dude, I think we just heard it. Yep, sorry, Ben Richards. Yeah, so I actually wrote this student's name on the wall and took a picture and was like, you're up there, you know. So yeah, it is. What I tell the kids all the time is like, it's my opportunity to get assessed, right? Like, I'm assessing you all the time. I don't get to find out how well I did until it's all done. And it's one day, make or break. It's a ton of pressure. But we'll think about the Tom Cruise swag bag. Yeah, pretty fair. Then Mrs. Penza helped put the AP data for the other sections. So you can see in AP US, 17 kids took the test this year, and then the data across. The good news is that our data across the board this year improved, right? Like, there's tons of metrics that you can get from the College Board site, most of which we can't share because of student privacy. There's College Board is much like ACT in terms of what you can and can't do, what you can and can't share, and so it's about all that we can show you for right now.
So if you don't get a 3, if you have less than a 3, you don't get college credit?
No.
You still get high school credit, so it's still worth taking it because it counts for high school graduation, but no college credits.
Yeah, so a person that scores a 2 has got to kind of eat the fact that they're ready for college, right? Like, that's what College Board says. They'll still get the credit. It is a sum laude point class, so they get that little bonus. But most universities will be like, good try.
Mike, could you just talk a little bit about the grade level of that world history class?
I sure can. So the first 2 columns, though it was 9-12. The academic 22-23 year is when we switched to only freshman and sophomore. And then this year, and then from this point forward, it's going to be only a freshman course.
Just
the
AP World. The
yeah.
other AP classes are eligible for the other grade levels, but AP
Yeah.
World is a freshman class. Just want to clarify. Yeah.
The person that taught me how to teach AP only taught it to freshmen. And so for some people, it was kind of a big sell. We're having people come out of 8th grade into a college level course. And so this year we had 12 kids that completed the course, only not required to. So only 10 people took the national exam and 8 of those scored. And this is all freshmen, which I think is like awesome. So absolutely awesome. The great news is most of the time I'm pretty humble. Like I tend to put myself down more than I build myself up. This is one of the few things that I think I do really good at. We went from 12 kids taking it this year, or last year, to 24 taking it this year, which translates into just continued growth, especially in our department. So Mr. Young Thunder this coming year has 27. He actually has to have 2 sections. And so the great news is that the AP US history test is exactly the same in every aspect as the world test, only content separates them. So if I do my job, which so far this year I do, his job will be a little bit easier next year. He doesn't have to teach them as much the skill. He can teach them content and then reinforce the skill. So I think we got a really, really awesome thing going between he and I. And then it just filters through, hopefully, to the rest of the AP programs and then just the building in general. Yep.
So AP World is just a freshman level course,
Freshman.
and AP US is just a sophomore level course?
It's sophomore through senior.
Okay.
But I think it's starting to become more sophomore, right? Like, so if I have 24 take it this year and 20, I mean, that's going to be mostly sophomores. But time will tell. And sometimes what happens, and rightfully so, is that kids look at this as a freshman and go, no, there's no way I can do that. There's a bunch of kids that of this sophomore class that I was like, you should have been in it. They were like, yeah, I should have, which I think translates into those higher numbers. These are kids that for a long time haven't been challenged. They're the kids that don't have to study for spelling tests. They just know it. They don't really, they can do stuff the night before and get away with it. They can play school really well. And so it's nice to see them go, wow, okay, this is what challenge feels like again. It's a tough lift for parents. I got a lot of feedback this year because I communicate a ton to families via Skyward Messenger, letters home, physical letters home, helping them know what's coming in the week and the month, because a lot of these parents haven't seen that kind of stuff coming home, or like all of a sudden my kid has to study, or they got a 5 out of 10 on some activity and they're failing, and that's a weird feeling to these kids. And so my job is to say, like, you didn't do good now, you're just not there yet, right? That's my mom's favorite word, is yet. She'll get there, just not yet. So it's fun, but I love it. The thing that unites them, and my goal, just a little bit of background, my goal is, the thing that unites that group is that they all have the same kind of common family, right? It might not be college. Someone might have forced them to be in it, right? But they're there together. So it's really easy to build that family aspect. The trick is, how do you do that in a setting where not everybody feels that? So that's my goal this year, is to figure that out.
And Brad, part of why it's a freshman level AP World course is because then they don't have to take the regular world history class. So they're taking the either or option and they're challenging themselves. And so that's why that's a specific freshman level course.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys should come in and watch sometime if you get. It's really fun. So I actually the first week in August this year, I did a training, and one of the cool things that College Board offers, but this year is all going to be project-based learning, which I'll explain in just a moment, so don't freak out. It's all project-based learning, which the last 2 years of data shows an increase across the board in scores. A lot of people that were like your 1s and 2s are 3s. 3s become 4s. 4s, to be in that 5, that elite class, it's a little bit harder, but 3's good. 3's good. So what this project base is going to look like is not what I thought it was going to be, right? Which is a poster or a trifold board, and then you present, and then someone stands there and doesn't do anything, and then you sit down and everyone claps. It's an interwoven, interdisciplinary process that lasts throughout the 2.5 trimesters. So for example, one of the projects is the downfall of the Mongol Empire. And each group becomes another power trying to slide in and steal a little bit of what the Mongols had. In order to do that, you have to know what the Mongols had. So that's what you want. You have to be able to navigate allies, potential conflicts. So not only do you have to know about yourself, but you have to know about everybody else. And there's this very interactive component that is not posters and trifold boards. I'm super stoked and nervous at the same time. So, any questions? Yeah.
Do you have, when you're getting ready for this test, going back to the test, do you have like practice tests put out by College Board, or like how
Yes.
are you? What's your prep? I mean, you study obviously, but what? You have like question banks,
College
that kind of stuff?
Board, last year was the first year they piloted doing all of the tests digital, and that's what it's going to be from here on out. I didn't even know it was a thing until I did my summer institute, that it's fairly common for UPS to lose the paper tests. And so if kids were to test here, it's all signed off by Mrs. Seacard, and it gets boxed. If that box gets lost in between here and where it's got to go, they don't get to retake, which is terrifying. Now that I know that, that's terrifying. So it's all digital. It's going to be digital for most of the classes from here on out. They have tons of digital tools through their website, from short answer writing to full essays to multiple choice. And that's true of, I think, almost all of the AP classes where these digital review components are made available. So we spent about the last 20 days. We give ourselves about 20 days before the test to freak them out a little bit, but not so much, right? Like you saw Goose die, right? Goose died, the canopy killed him, and like, you know that that's out there, there's that risk, but at the same time, you're gonna take Jester out. I'm talking, she's not.
He's talking to you.
Man, I was giving my
Sorry.
top gun spiel.
So
Anything
then,
else?
are you? Is there a sort of, and maybe this is a Kim question, do we have an AP like sort of PLC working together in, cross-disciplinary with you and actually, right? I don't know who is teaching the other AP classes to.
We do. It's tough because Mr. Young Thunder and I, like I said, our tests are absolutely the same thing. Same time, process, everything. No one else has anything similar. Like even within social studies, like AP Psych, AP Government, they're not alike and they have nothing in common with us. So we can meet and we can talk about, like, I feel like I do a really good job of building this family, which encourages kids to take risks and know that you can keep trying. Like we can talk about those kinds of things, but in terms of content and testing, that's hard for me.
We talk a lot about how they use College Board as a resource, right? Because College Board has so many resources for all of our AP teachers. So how are you using that website and the study questions and the practice from College Board? Because it's so different, we try to go, okay, how are you using these resources? And so that's what we've talked a lot about when we meet as a PLC, which we've done a couple times. Like, let's get all the AP teachers together and talk. but that's what we focus on, is how they're using those external resources to power their students through that test.
Yeah. Obviously, it's working. It is going on.
We also, full transparency, a lot of our classes went from being a 2-trimester class to a 3-trimester class. So we committed some extra sections and time to making sure that they had more time to prepare. It's been a long day, everyone.
It does take a lot of preparation.
So that they are better prepared, that they're not having such a break between when trimester 2 ends and they have to get to that exam, right? So we've committed. There's some classes that were like, nope, I don't need that extra time, and so they're still true 2 trimesters. But like Mike was like, yep, I can use
When
all of that
does
time.
try 2 end?
March 7th-ish around,
So-
and you don't take the test till the first 2 weeks of
Yeah.
May.
I mean, that's
Do
exactly.
you have like do they get meet and like do refreshers or something?
Yep, so they'll meet during our advising time, or when we had lunch and learn, so our teachers are there guiding them through those 2 months. But now with the addition of that 3rd trimester for most of the classes,
So there's only been one person that I've ever met that can do this successfully. Tony Berger, was at the middle school, was the only person that could get kids to come in the morning before school to study together. And that was before any part of it was digital. But yeah, if you're done in March and you don't test to May, like especially, AP government's a little bit different. They have far less content. Mine, you would not see this because you're asking kids to do a lot of it independently. From freshmen to seniors, they're just not ready for that. At least my opinion.
Kim, that trimester change was this year?
yes.
This
So
will
this
be
is
the
the
first
first
year
year,
There won't be
that,
the
right?
gap, huh?
Yeah.
Am I forgetting? It wasn't last year. It was we made it for this year. Yeah, this year. I lost it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
I think with just one quick clarification, that 5, although AP Calc had an awesome score and they got that student, they had the student who achieved credit, the 5 was in AP history, US history with Mr. Youngbender.
You had originally said it was in Calc, and it was not.
It was,
Was it? Was it English?
yes.
Oh,
So just, yeah.
well.
Our history teachers are rocking it. Is really what we're trying to say.
I know he's watching
We
right now,
love
so Mr.
history.
Young Thunder, I am super sorry. I'm going to hear about that tomorrow. When I see you.
As you should.
I didn't have 5. Like, this is brand new cool information.
It's listed.
Wow.
And so if you're not getting that incredible vibe that the teachers are extremely vested in the success of the students, they put so much, not that they don't for all of their classes, but this is that one example where there's an external measure that validates that work, right? So at the end of the year, teachers give grades to students and they can feel great about it and the kid can celebrate it, but it's not the same as an external entity saying, yep, those kids mastered that content. And so the day that the scores came in, I was somewhere in the district, a different building, and I came back and Mr. Shepard had a note on my chair. Oh my God, did you see the scores? He was so excited. And so
Well, and just so the test is mid-May.
Yeah.
We don't get the score, like the scores drop this year, July 5th.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they take it and then you just go, okay. And then mark it on your calendar. And like, I got up at midnight, got some emails from some former students who are like, it's not posted yet. I'm like, I know. And then we got an email from a student at like 3:30 in the morning. Hey, I passed. I'm like, why are you awake? So,
because they cared as well.
yeah.
Anyway.
They haven't went to bed yet, probably. They haven't went to bed yet.
I think they did. Yeah, I think he did. I think he just probably kept setting alarms for every hour on the hour. So, oh, Eli, I'm sorry about the 5. I'm probably getting texts right now, probably from him. So.
Any other questions for Mike?
Yeah, I have a few questions for you.
Go for it.
Because we work together.
Long time,
And
man.
of course, I personally know you have earned your master's degree
I have.
from UW River Falls, I think, right?
Lacrosse. My master's was lacrosse.
And bachelor from UW River Falls.
River Falls, I'm a Falcon.
Wow.
Best university in the state.
One of the very prestigious schools.
You betcha.
I've been there many times. So, AP means college level.
Advanced
Yep.
placement.
A college level class.
Correct.
When we go college or a university, every instructor has a master degree.
Yep.
Just like you, or PhD, but master is minimum for college. AP, MACRO, it must be macroeconomics,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The instructor, I don't know who, apart from you, I don't know who's instructors. is that instructor has at least a bachelor in economics.
So Iftikhar, the students, oh, sorry, do you want to answer?
No, you can go ahead and
Do not
take this
tell.
one. No, that's,
It's just a
So
curiosity.
students can take tests that they have prepared for outside of it. So we don't have a teacher teaching AP macro. A student decided that they wanted to take that test.
Yes.
So to answer your question, not all of those teachers do have their master's degrees though.
Into their specialization.
Correct, not all.
So AP chemistry is a college level chemistry.
correct.
That individual, he or she has at least bachelor in chemistry.
So we, in order to teach a college board class, you have to go through their training. It's 2 weeks in the summer, you know, they double check that you understand how the course is supposed to go, what the expectations are of college board. You then have to submit a syllabus and a plan. Very easy to get those things. And then you are certified to teach with them.
But if I could just cut right to one of your other questions, Iftikhar, in order to teach at the high school level, anytime a student is earning high school graduation credit for a class, that teacher needs to have their bachelor's degree has to be in that area. So your question, do they have a bachelor's degree in those specific content areas? That answer is yes.
Last time, 2008, Miss Bojo used to teach physics. She did not have a physics bachelor, but she did have an engineering degree, in which we do intensive physics work. But it's just, I'm learning the system, how you folks do. So it is not necessary they have appropriate 4 or 3 years specialization before teaching AP class.
Yeah, so even my master's is not in history, my master's is professional development.
But your life experience equal to 5 PhDs. I know that.
Dude, Iftikhar, I'm so smart. I'm so smart. No, but yeah, so everyone up there drilled it this year. We had an amazing year.
No, this is good. 61 students have taken AP class, and many of them qualify to get a college credit. Many of them will get high school credit.
Correct.
Right?
And every one of them gets high school credit.
Everyone get high school credit. Some of them
If
will
they pass the class.
Yeah, and some of them will get college.
College credit, correct.
And those who are 2, they will get at least high school credit to graduate.
Correct.
And those who are 3.4, AP World, they all will get, 10 of them will get the college credit. That's
Eight of the 10 pass, so 8 of them will get.
Yeah, eight
Yep.
says there.
And I can tell you, after doing the summer institute that I was involved in, we are doing things here that other high schools are not. Like our kids are super successful.
Yes, 61.
Oh yeah. And so it's kind of cool to like tell them some of the things that we're doing.
AP class is no joke on any level.
No. Stop in and watch sometime. Doors always open.
I'm still teaching in different schools.
Yep.
That is very serious business.
Yep.
It means fasten your seat belt, flight will be bumpy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, see, look at more Top Gun references. Bumpy flights.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else?
Thanks for coming. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
your time.
coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're on to the 6th series. There are no gifts and grants. We will talk about the 4th Street vandalism update.
I don't really have much of an update other than since our last meeting, there has been a formal conviction and a sentencing, and I just know that you are often asked in the community, whatever happened with that, and so I just wanted you to get the documents that I received because we are the victim in this scenario, and so that means the court notifies me of any of the findings and any of those things. And so I don't know if you have any questions, but I just wanted you to see. It looks like there will be 6 months served in jail. And if the individual manages their probation without further trouble, it would be possible for that to be expunged from their record, which was not what we were hoping for. We were hoping for perhaps a little bit heavier, but the way the trial turned out. So I just wanted you to all have the same documents that I did.
And expunging it is due to their age.
for the upcoming school year, and this is what happens if we're not able to do that. So we did that with a few families as well. We celebrate good attendance for students. So we did Tiger Tags 3 times a year, and we really focused on on-time attendance for that, because that was probably our biggest issue, was the tardies in our building. And so when a student had 0 tardies for that trimester, then they received a little Tiger Tag that we celebrated. We did that with academics and behavior too. We sent flyers home to promote school attendance, and grade levels did their own celebrations. They had competitions amongst themselves, classrooms and things, and then home visits if it came to that as well. And then going into this year, so we're going to continue all those great things that we were doing, encouraging positive attendance, family outreach when it comes to those thresholds again, celebrations, individual grade level celebrations. This year we want to do a poster contest to start the school year. So September is attendance awareness, and our theme is going to be attendance matters. And so we're going to have students create posters that showcase attendance matters, and we'll see how that goes. And we've got some in-classroom prizes for the winners. So if they're the winner, then their class earns a pizza party or an ice cream treat or something fun like that. Sharing attendance data with families more frequently is definitely something that we can do. Putting it in newsletters, signage outside the building, just like Forest Street does. Why attendance matters. So we added this flyer to our back to school email that was sent to families. Just encouraging attendance, explaining why it's important, what happens if we don't come, what is truancy, what does that mean, and then giving some numbers as to when we reach, like, what does good attendance look like, poor attendance, and chronically absent attendance. And we're also doing some goal setting this year with students. So they're going to be setting reading goals, math goals, behavior goals, and attendance goals individually with their classroom teachers. So that'll be another thing that we're gonna do too. Any questions?
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so for this attendance contract, like, what are the consequences of, say, like a kid misses 50 days of school and has all absence in the year?
Yeah, so truancy is on there, but also retention. So if we see that a student has missed a significant amount of days of school and we're not seeing academic progress, then we can definitely look at retention as a possibility.
I mean, you're cheating.
Correct. Yep.
I just want to comment on, you had mentioned the signage on the door, and Melanie had used that.
Mm-hmm.
I really found that eye-opening, right? And I noticed that a lot, and also I know in one of the newsletters home, Melanie wrote a similar sort of thing. And you know, I don't have any students in your school yet, but I found those impactful as a parent.
Okay, that's good.
So these are also amazing. Like, thank you guys so much for tackling it and getting after it. Do you know, have you guys, I went to this conference earlier this summer, and they talked a lot about attendance, because obviously we're not the only school district that struggles with it, but they sort of went over a bunch of the national approaches, kind of best practices for attendance. Are you guys taking these strategies from those practices, or how are you kind of tracking?
A little bit, like doing some searches, I guess, for different ideas and just coming up with different things.
So my professional organization, AASA, has started a national think tank on it, and I'm registered to participate, I think September 27th, or I don't remember the exact date, but it's coming up, and so I am definitely interested, because the state average continues to go down, the national average goes down, there's more and more people struggling with attendance.
There was a couple of really good ones, and when you go to that, you'll have to.
You are welcome to share if you found some too.
Yeah.
Vicki Mikulski also shares a lot of research-based strategies with admin for targeting improving attendance.
So at the very bottom, I included a website too. I know it's really hard to see. I think it's called Attendance Works.
Yep, attendanceworks.org.
And that's all that research. And that has a whole bunch of really good information for families, for educators, administrators, lots of different information on there.
You said the flyer is just going out digitally?
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, do you?
At this point, yeah.
Plan to put this in the kids' folders, since I know Red Creek, they all typically take a folder home.
Yeah, we certainly can do that.
This is very amazing, I like it.
Thank you.
It means we are getting serious.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Without attendance, grades will fall down. So attendance is important. Is it possible, like this is my friend Nicole Sullivan made it, it's not made up thing, it's a real deal. 130 students in 8th grade. Could we see the 130 student in a month, how many were absent? Like some kind of a digit. These are all statements, digits, number. That resonates me very nicely. So let's say 100 students in 8th grade, 45 are absent frequently. If board will know this, we will pour in more money to find out how to help.
So one of the metrics that the board does have on your data calendar is the percentage of students that are chronically absent, and that has been shared out with you each trimester, and that does have the numbers of students on it, so you have had that data.
Yeah, but not over here in this wonderful presentation. They don't talk about the number. So
No,
I was
this isn't
wondering,
data, right?
yeah, I was wondering monthly, every month, how many students were absent?
That is literally the sheet that we share. It is month by month, the percentage of students that are chronically absent.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we don't see every month.
Nope, you don't.
But when we see it is too late, milk is already spilled.
Not really, because all of the teachers and principals have seen it, and admin, and they're doing all of these amazing things that have literally definitely have something to do with us, but they're doing their job, and it's not too late for anything. They're working these issues and problems actively. I'm very confident in that.
Yeah, I'm also agree with you. I'm also very confident. No, I like all those things which I have been hearing.
Yes.
So I will remain quiet.
Okay, deal.
Middle school?
Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
I didn't set up a little booby trap for you guys to get up here.
All right, so last year at the middle school, we did many of the same things Red Creek 4th Street does do. Also, it's the same as the high school. Maybe it's because we meet and talk about it frequently. However, we also did some home visits with counselors. We did the letters in the parent meetings. We set meetings, some were virtual meetings, some were face-to-face meetings, where we set goals for students, talk about the things that are getting in the way to get the students to school. We've even set home alarm clocks, so forth and so on, to try to help the students. Truancy referrals to Jackson County. We try to get all of our students to greet students at the door, all of our teachers to greet students at the door or in the hallways. We also have staff outside at the bus stops and at the front door greeting students as they're coming in. Simple truancy, which we have not utilized yet at the middle school. I hope we don't have to utilize it at the middle school this year for the 24-25 school year, but it might happen. Grade level teams do monthly data digs. Anybody that's below the 80%, they are setting goals for those students. Each staff member is paired with a student, and they start meeting during lunchtime and or before school, just to start creating that positive relationship even further than what they've already done, to try to increase that. And then they're setting goals with that student to try to get that student to get to school more frequently. Something else that we've done, they say if you have a student that's missed a day, it's imperative that an adult in their life at school greets them by name the next day to say, hey, I noticed you were gone yesterday. It's so great to see you back today. If they miss 2, 3, or more days, that everybody that child interacts with should be reaching out to that student by name. So that's something we try to do if we do notice students are gone. That we have all the adults in that child's life greet them by name and say, I noticed you've been gone for a couple days. Is everything okay? So great to have you back. How can I help you catch up? So forth and so on. And we do make those phone calls to parents at home to say, hey, we haven't seen Shelly for 4 or 5 days. How can we help? And then athletic participation, grades, and attendance at middle school. We are trying to use that to leverage students to achieve at school. And obviously, if they're not in school, they're not achieving. So we do have that work with our athletics. So this year, we're going to continue the current practices. We do also want to do attendance matters, posters in the hallways. We want to use our screens in the commons, put messages up. I would like to do some more data and send data home with families this year to talk more about the data and the attendance data as Red Creek and 4th Street are doing. We're going to continue to set monthly goals, but we're going to also have incentives this year for students. If you're in that 90th percentile that you're here almost every day of school, we're going to have some incentives that are going to go along with our PBIS. We're going to also do some competitions this year, maybe whether it's going to be against focuses or we'll set a goal for the whole school to try to reach, much like with our PBS and behavior. And then focus teacher reaching out to students missing 2 or more days a month. We're going to continue with that too because that's just a public thing to do. So.
Questions for Dan?
Just curious, Dan, with the at-home visits that happened with the counselors, were those like a pre-arranged thing or were they unannounced for them
Both.
to try to? Okay.
Some we call and say, hey, can we stop over? Some we just go because we can't get over the parent.
Okay.
And sometimes we take Kyle and Osbish along on
Sometimes, yeah.
visits.
Okay.
And sometimes Vicky and the counselors go
Yeah.
and I don't go. But yeah, it's kind of a team effort, whoever's available. Just to
And
try
who
to
we think
get
is the families can be most responsive to, right? Because some
Absolutely.
families will really respond well to Vicky being there, whereas other families are gonna be like, I don't want any part of a social worker in my house. So I think you customize, yeah.
Do you execute the community health workers at all through the middle school?
Chris Stewart.
Chris Stewart's the one that comes to my mind. She works with us a great deal. We talk about cast member in our cast meetings. We do cast at middle school as well. So Chris Stewart's there as well for that. Chris Vicky. So that would be the only one I would say that we utilize at this time.
Just one thought. I really like the teacher reaching out after 2 or more days in a row, but it might be also worth thinking about 2 or more days in a week as well. Because short term, if my attendance has been good, but I miss a Monday and a Friday this week, maybe my attendance is going to start to trend down.
Yeah.
The teams have taken on so much more data tracking over the last 2 years than they ever used to do, and it's because we're in a tough spot with it, but attendance used to live primarily with the office. The teacher teams really didn't engage in the tracking, monitoring, all of that stuff, and so we're always trying to find that nice balance between it's more meaningful for the kids to have the teacher reach out than the secretary to call them, right? So it's more meaningful, but it also takes more teacher time when they're not doing other things. And so it's always trying to find that balance of.
I think you guys have a great balance. I mean, we've all seen probably a couple movies. I know I for sure have, where the teacher shows up at the house, and I feel like you guys are doing something very similar to that. And I think that's like super amazing that you're making that personal connection. I think that's going to be extremely effective.
So Shelley, can you talk a little bit about the data mining that's going on? Can you explain like the resources, like hours that are going on?
I can help you out with the middle school.
Yeah.
So middle school we use Edge Climber. And you basically type in, we can do a 3D search, and it brings up all students that have 79% or less, or 90% or less. And then we can start data, we can track them by male, female, so forth and so on.
Okay.
And we get specific data on that.
Okay, great. So
And then we can use
One
Skyward
of
as well.
our problems is that Skyward and EduClimber don't always talk very well, and so sometimes we get data that just looks really poor, and then it's not actionable at all. We had that problem with the high school last year. We think we have fixed the report this summer, right?
We think so.
But if we do see that too, we do check Skyward to make
Yeah.
sure that it is accurate. Can we go into Skyward and we start looking at, hey, when are these days happening? Is it or something, part of the phone calls home is there something going on in the family?
Mm-hmm.
Is there an illness? So is there mom that lost a job, so forth and so on? I mean, you just never know what you're gonna get when you make those phone calls. But so we use Skyward and EduClimber primarily.
And when a student is absent, and you have to excuse my ignorance because my kids aren't old enough to be in these systems yet, but is it Skyward or EduClimber sends a notification, right, that your son or daughter is absent today?
Any other questions for Dan? High school, you're up.
If you could send me some of those resources, that'd be really cool.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Good evening, everyone. May and I would love to talk to you about attendance. So we do a lot of the similar things that all the other grade levels do. So doing all those things, we also do some home visits with either Kyle, our school resource officer, or the social worker. We always go in pairs just to kind of double check on kids that we haven't heard from in a long time. We set up parent meetings. Nate does a majority of those, especially when we get to the truancy meeting, but we also try to look at that data ahead of time to see who might be getting there and if we should set up some parent meetings. We do those truancy referrals. We also, like the middle school, really want those teachers out there greeting students at the door because we know that's one of those strategies that really gets kids to want to be there. When you know their name and you're saying hi to them as they walk by you. So we want to do that. Last year we also started that simple truancy that you guys have all heard about. We used it very sparingly, but it was one of those things that we needed. We were doing all of these things to
But this is another tool, I like it.
It is not new. There has been grades connected to being able to participate for an extended period of time. A lot of it was connected to end of trimester grades. We've instituted some midterm checks that also inhibit them from playing for a little bit, but attendance has always been part of it. Like if you are not there for the day, you are not practicing at night. So that's been there for a long time.
So how many Fs could allow a student to play a sports?
So different things. At the end of the trimester, if you have one F, there is a total amount of suspension time. If you have 2 or more, there's a total amount of suspension time. And it would depend on the student and those Fs. At midterm, if you're failing anything, you have to come to tutoring after school and for an hour, and then you can go to sport participation until you get that F up.
These are good tools to motivate a student that I know they love sports. They will not sacrifice their sports. So they will get good grades to play sports.
That is our hope and something that we're working on so that we make sure that we're students first is what we keep telling them.
Yes. How many students won the gold medal in Olympics? No, I'm just kidding.
Soon, we're gonna have some up there.
I'm just kidding. They're too young to participate.
Any other questions for the high school?
I guess I have a couple.
You go ahead.
No.
Okay, not for the high school, but just I know at one point in time, we had a truancy task force, and I can't all remember who was on there, judges, maybe Kyle, maybe you, maybe social services. And so I wondered where that is and if we could get that going again.
Sure, so per state statute, the superintendent in the community that is the county seat, us, must pull together a truancy task force and create a truancy plan once every 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So we wrapped up our plan in COVID, the year right after, so it is time this school year to bring that team back together.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. And that includes Melrose Mindoro, Alma Center, and a little tiny slice of Blair Taylor.
I love it. Thank you.
It's just, I know Michaela already said it, but just wanted to really thank everybody for putting this information together. It's very eye-opening for everyone, I think, for us to see all the good work that's going in for that. So just 2 questions, and they're kind of more global than it is to each
So we can sit down,
particular
is what you're
campus.
saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So outside of like the extracurricular activities that are specific to athletics, is there other things that we could potentially restrict participation in if the students are not in school? Is there any other, I don't exactly know exactly what it could be, but you know, like.
Yeah, our clubs follow the same
Okay.
activity. It's a little difficult, right?
Yep.
Because a lot of times they've prepared a long time to go to like state FCCLA, right? But there's lots of conversations we're having along the way, and often their club is meeting during the school day. It's not like an after-school thing, but we talk about attendance. Their advisors have some attendance requirements for them to be able to participate in some things throughout the day.
Okay.
So for the rest of the admin, the board was talking about, because their job is policy, what policies could they support to help support you in holding students and families accountable to their job of being a student in school. So if you think about in that way, if you have any ideas of policies that the board could consider, that is a topic that I believe everybody is interested in talking about. Retention, I heard Red Creek talk about it, that's tough stuff, especially as they get older, that is tough. And Forest Street, we have done that. There have been kindergartners who have missed 50% of the instruction, and in conversation with the parent, we've helped them understand that it would be a mistake to move forward when you've missed 50% of the content. So at the younger levels, that makes a lot more sense. As kids get older, that gets harder and harder to do because there's no research to support retention there, so.
And additionally, at 4th Street specifically, there's state statute that says that students have to, I forget what the exact word is, but they have to effectively or sufficiently engage in the curriculum in order to be promoted to 1st grade. In order, before a kid can go to 1st grade, they have to complete kindergarten. And so in order to complete kindergarten effectively, we have to be here and be present. So, and there's a lot of important behaviors that get set up in kindergarten. So we do lean on that a lot with our families.
Do any of you have other ideas of ways that the board could support you increasing expectations and accountability for students and families in the area of attendance? That's a fair what you were asking?
Yeah, I mean, that was really the next question for you to kind of wrap it up is like, what can we do? Is there policy that we need to consider as a board that would maybe take away some of the gray area for you? You know, because if some of the decisions that you're having to make are like first time precedent type things or situations where, you know, like it's hard to take child A and child B, 2 different scenarios, and trying to decide like what should the next step be. I mean, if the policy was written in a very clear and direct manner that gives you the guidelines to say like, hey, once it gets to this point, this is what happens next. When I looked at like the slide that Red Creek team had up on there with the red, yellow, and green, as far as those amount of dates, I mean, is days missed, I mean, is that consistent across the entire district, or is that just what Red Creek is doing? You know, and if it is, has prior policy been written in a way that allows you to act once somebody gets to a certain level? That's really what we're looking for feedback on, those type of things. So
you guys can marinate in that a little bit.
I would like to add to that too on the prevention portion, where if there's something we can put together that really addresses the prevention piece that would be supportive for you guys, I think that we could definitely sit with that too.
Do you think it's fair to say there are 2 camps when it comes to kindergarten and 1st grade? There are, pre-K or 4K in kindergarten, where people like myself, like I think it's profoundly important. I think it's super big deal. That's when you lay the foundation of being at school every day, being on time every day, being present every day. And I have, at least in my personal life, ran across a lot of people who are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's just kindergarten. But it's like, that's when we lay that foundation. That's when we teach them how wildly important it is to be at school every single day. I'm sure it doesn't help in your position to be that first step when people maybe aren't fully grasping the severity of those decisions that they're making during those 2 years.
Absolutely, and I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
That was part of why 4th Street wanted to change their name. They used to be 4th Street Early Learning Center, and they felt that made them sound almost like a daycare, and so that whole staff asked, could we change our name to 4th Street Elementary so that it felt more school-like than early childhood. So 100% agree with your
I think
statement.
that's so important.
I guess just an idea is, like if you have a job, a lot of times there's a line in the sand. If you miss this many days this year, you're gonna be out the door, and it's like kind of like for school too. I mean,
But then we have to remember that the parents are responsible for getting the kids there, not the children. So we can't penalize like a 4K or a kinder for not being there on time, but you can hold the parents accountable. So I think that's something that the task force talked about.
consequences like, all right, doing a redo here because that's a big consequence. I don't know.
I was just thinking about little kids are so into like when you promote them and like, a stop and go light, the red, green, or yellow and then the green, and they come to school and they see, hey, attendance, we are in the green, and then in the yellow, and actually seeing the lights move in their classrooms in the whole school itself as they walk in? Or what are those robotrams or whatever they're called with the lights? And hey, awesome job. So, you know, this grade, just having it put up there where kids are really seeing, hey, we're making a difference. Or Mom and Dad, guess what? Because we got to school on time, our class is gonna get a party. You know, just something like that, where it's out there and not just on a wall, because they're little. And I'm sorry, but if things are not at my level, I tend to just walk past it and become tunnel vision. For them, it's the flash, you know, the lightning, and I just think even being able to have it at the middle school, even at the high school, saying, hey, this is where we're at. You know, put it out there. Everything's electronic today. Why would we not show attendance? This is where you're at. This is our school total of students. This is where we're at. And see those numbers change maybe throughout the year. I don't know. It's just a thought. You know, people.
Can I piggyback? I think the kids are getting it. My daughter had a rough year last year. We had our tonsils out, and then like spring hit, and she had allergies and all this kind of stuff. And I remember her sitting on the couch. I told her she had to have her neb before she went to school, and she's sitting crying. I don't want to be late, and you know she's got her little neb on, and I'm like, oh Peanut, you know, I also can't send you grunky, so like you just gotta sit here and take it, you know, chill out. But so I think the kids are definitely getting it. I don't think that and Melanie. She started off in Melanie's building and did beautifully. Like they really drove it home. She understands it is easier to get up in the morning because she was hearing the same messages at home as she was at school. So I think altogether that the kids are getting the right message, which was proof for second grade when things didn't go as well and we had all these little hiccups. But I think that to piggyback on what Amy is saying, the parents piece is so vital and so huge in terms of just setting that trajectory. And I think by middle school, we're looking at it's a little late to try and, reel in the reality of it. So like I said, I think there's two parts. The prevention is probably a huge piece, but also speaking to, okay, well, here's where we're at and we can't continue to do this. So policy, if you guys have anything or need anything from us even to look into stuff, we're happy to do it.
I think you're exactly right. It's really two different pots of people. Like when we're at the elementary level, it's on the parents a lot. When you get to the middle school, and especially the high school, then it's on the kids to get there. So if you have some time to think about it, I'm sure we can come up with some ideas.
I'd be curious if there are other districts that have attendance policies written and what they look like.
So something that our high school considered a few years ago and the board did not approve it. They felt that senior year attendance was terrible, and so they said if you didn't have whatever attendance rate your senior year, you couldn't walk in graduation, and the board did not approve it at that time. And my only concern with that was you can't do nothing freshman, sophomore, and junior year and then expect senior year for them to fix all of their attendance problems so that they can participate in graduation ceremony. But ideas like that, I think it's a carrot and a stick, right? Dangle something that they really want and some sort of accountability side. All right, that was a good conversation.
All right. Next up, we have our annual operating resolutions. We adopt these every year. As you saw in your packets, things like who our Wisconsin retirement system rep is and our official depositories, and mostly boilerplate. We've got a little bit extra to add this year.
Just that one about the impartial hearing officer. In the past, we did not put it on here as one of the resolutions, and then when somebody was utilizing the grievance policy and we needed to have an impartial hearing officer or independent hearing officer, we had to have a special board meeting to say, yep, go do that and find that person. So I just thought it would be cleaner, since it has to be done annually, to add it to our list of resolutions. It is not a change in policy, it's a change in when you denote that you will use an impartial hearing officer for grievances.
Yeah, we need a motion to approve these, unless there's anything that anyone wants to pull out and discuss. Otherwise, we do these all in one motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next up, we're gonna talk about our scorecard.
Yeah, so this is a scorecard that I generated when we first did, that's the strategic plan. So maybe we should start here for a second. Sorry. The strategic plan was a huge community initiative probably in 2015, 14, 15. Definitely 15 because we kept saying it was a 5-year plan and it was Vision 2020, meaning it was going to take us those 5 years. So we had lots of community input on the vision and the value words from community, parents, staff members, and we ended up with these 4 pillars that we were going to measure our progress. If you could scroll up, it is the Our People pillar, which we consider all of our staff, right? We've talked about that before, that the employment game is very different. We are in competition with every other school district for our staff members, and so making sure that our people feel proud and connected to our district is of critical importance. Community engagement, we know that we exist to serve the community that supports us, and so our community engagement, we've had several conversations recently about the need to engage families at a higher level in their child's success, not just in our football games and in our activities and events, but in their child's success, making sure that parents see their role and the importance of that. Community engagement, then we have the finance and facilities. That is all the business side of it, right? I know we would like to say that our only function is educating students, but let's be honest, we run transportation, we run food service, we run building and grounds. We are a dynamic business in addition to that student success piece. And then finally, the student success piece, which is the piece that drives all the rest of the work. All the rest of it exists because of that student success. So when we first developed the strategic plan, we also developed a scorecard so that the board on an annual basis could monitor progress on the strategic plan. I went to update it this year and realized the last time it was updated was pre-COVID, and that is ridiculous. And so it's time to come back to it. And these were the pieces that, using the strategic plan, were identified previously as we can say in our community engagement pillar, we are making progress if we have a strong number of parents who say, I feel welcome at my child's school. Or one of my favorite ones is concerns I raise about my child are addressed promptly. You can see this past year, 88% of families who responded to our survey agreed that when they brought concerns to any one of the buildings, that is the whole district together, 88% of those people said that they were addressed promptly. That doesn't mean that we all agreed at the end, but at least they felt listened to and heard, and that there was a process for them to come to some resolution. So I recognize that we've kind of got some tunnel vision in some areas with some of our data metrics that you want to see, and I'm not suggesting this instead of. I'm saying that is all very student driven. This is a scorecard for our entire strategic plan, and we haven't talked about some of these other data pieces. So I'm asking you, do the metrics that we are using make sense to you? What do you want to know about finance and facilities? Because we can't just say we're getting better if we spend less, because we're never going to spend less, right? Cost of everything is going to continue to go up. So Jill had prepared that other sheet that was in there with some other data pieces in the finance and facilities world. And then the student success, we kind of have landed on our state report card is the one that we use for a lot of those pieces, just because it is consistent every single year. That we're going to get that no matter, and that is what the state uses to rank, sort, and order. So I wanted to have some conversation with you. Is it valuable for you to know about the Our People data? If it doesn't matter to you, I'll keep the scorecard for internal purposes. But the strategic plan is technically the plan of the Board of Education and the direction for the entire district. It's that mile marker or goalpost that we're supposed to be moving towards. And so I'm interested in your thoughts on the metrics that we are currently using, or if there's other information that you'd rather have. These are questions that are already embedded into our stakeholder surveys. If you want something different, we would just need to alter that survey, and we can do that, but then we won't have historical data on it because we didn't ask those questions previously. So, yes.
I guess this is great. This is wonderful. I would be interested in a little bit more of the whys. Like, if you're not going to recommend this particular job to somebody, well, why? I mean, because that really is the platform for the change. And I'm guessing you probably capture that somewhere.
Yep, so in the survey, we asked that question. This is the scorecard. There are reams of narrative that go along with it.
Okay.
When our people committee come together, that committee pours through all of that stuff. They get to see from each building, but even the questions, I feel valued for the work that I do. They get to, so we've certainly got all of that data that the committees are working on, working with.
To show you the community engagement piece,
Yeah.
would it be possible to get a percentage of families that participated in the survey?
I could tell you the total amount of respondents. It would be messy because people respond for multiple buildings.
Sure.
So, yeah, but I can tell you the total number of respondents, sure.
Yeah, number of respondents compared to how many surveys were sent, potentially. That just tells us how engaged the families are and actually giving back data. So,
Yeah, that's always step one, right?
Yep.
If you don't answer an engagement survey, you're not engaged.
yeah, right.
I agree. I like a lot of this data. I think the challenge with the finance and facilities is a scorecard should all be things that you can affect, right? You should be able to change things. We can change things on things like attendance and percent proficient and all those things. The challenge with the finance and facilities is I like to know these pieces of information, but
It's almost more of a just a monitoring,
Right.
not a value judgment on it either way. Right?
There's the best financial year transportation had, shocker to no one, right, was during COVID. I don't know what decision we could make that would impact transportation costs. If we have a student that lives on the outer edge of the district, our cost goes up a little bit. When that student graduates, our cost goes down, but it's nothing that this board did that affected that. Food cost, talked to Connie today, it turns out the cost of food has not gone down anywhere, right? These costs are gonna continue to go up. So I don't know what would be the most valuable finance and facilities. I look at things that are maybe too micro, like we've spent an inordinate amount of time, and my time on the board, talking about buses, which is a huge cost, so we should spend time talking about it, but the average age of buses or number of buses under the 10-year line, but that's getting very micro data for a scorecard. Are all of our roofs redone now, or do we have one piece of roof left? I'm trying to remember.
We have one piece of roof left at the high school.
So when I think about like facilities, decisions that we've made, but I don't really want to look at 74% of our roofs are done. But I think those are the important facilities pieces. We could look at defeasance or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the facility piece is just openness to make sure that people know that they can ask the board for things. That we're here to listen to those type of things. And for me, maybe that category could include like at some point in time some sort of a survey to the faculty for the things that they feel like they'd like to have within the facilities. Or I've heard a little bit of feedback about like air conditioning and things like that at the middle school level. So just like hearing some more of that, not from those that are here.
No, they are now. The middle school is climate controlled now. That's why I was like, what? They are.
Well, it could have been past.
Okay, got it.
Past stuff.
I'm just like.
But I think it's all, you talked about our people, it kind of relates back to that, and
we ask them the question when the principals do their rounding. They say, do you have the resources you need to do your work? And then we ask them, like, think about materials and instructional resources and time and furniture and try to think of all of the resources. And so we ask that in rounding. We don't necessarily put that on the survey, but we certainly could.
More like will our people committee hear some of that feedback then? Okay, great.
Could we include the next steps from that group then, potentially, once they've seen the data?
Like their plan moving forward?
Yeah. Or I suppose we do, never mind.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Okay, what is education cost per member? What is that?
So that whole sheet that Jill had prepared, that's data that the state collects on all of the systems in Wisconsin. And so that was a way to measure. So Jill, I'm gonna let you define what's all included in that.
Yeah, it includes staffing, supplies,
Not transportation?
not transportation.
What is per member? Who is member? Are
Students.
we students?
Students,
No one else.
correct, students.
Okay.
Yep.
You go ahead.
Yeah, no, if you go to, I put the source on there, if you go to that longitudinal comparative cost summary, you can see what's all included in those numbers. But basically it's staffing and supplies for direct education of students.
Yes.
And then these other pieces are breakouts, transportation was a breakout, facility cost per member is a breakout, food and community service is a breakout, and then you have the total district comparative costs per member from all of those things.
Could you go slide before?
Slide before.
Yeah.
It wasn't a slide, but I think the.
Yeah, this one.
Oh,
Okay.
And then under 2022, 2023, 14,867 on investment on a single student. That will almost make it more than 20 million US dollars. And what is this state? 13,920. What is that?
That's the state average.
Yeah, that's the state average. All the districts together divided by all the students in the state.
So that is the state estimated that almost 14,000 should be invested on each student.
It's the average
No,
that's
It's what they are
actually
invested. It's what's being invested.
is the average cost per student.
Across
I know
the
you
state.
love these numbers. This, all the money that each student gets is then just put out to all those categories that we looked at, as you call on the next slide that Jill showed us. So I mean, a lot of it is just hard data, not super arguable.
So those Black River Fall is 14,867, right? It should make it more than 20 million US dollars. If 1,572
Yeah.
student multiplied by 14,867 should be over 20 million.
If it was, do you have a follow-up thought to that, or is it just a statement?
That's a very decent money to help the students.
Yeah, that's great. Next.
I'm asking if are there any other pieces that you would like to know? Maybe it would be helpful if you saw the surveys that we give to staff and families, and maybe some of the questions in there would spark for you things that would be interesting to note as we go through.
I think
we have
our
a
people
committee.
committee will.
Yeah, they definitely
I
do.
think they'll do a great job.
I think
Okay.
people that are on that, we just gotta be very forthright in bringing information back to the rest of the board members that are on the committee once that starts meeting. So.
I do want to note the annual electric usage with all of the, I can't think what the system is, the data.
Data Wrangler.
Data Wrangler, thank you. I would have never named it that. Data Wrangler and, like Kent's message this morning about energy efficiency and, you know, that's should be hopefully some real cost savings for us. So I think that would be interesting to do that. Whether it's on the scorecard, but I think that's important data.
One other piece that I uploaded a different one into our Google Drive. I just want to point out, I had the staff retention rates calculated for teachers. Marty and I did that too early. We should have known better. But then we've had other staff leave since that was done. So that is not accurate. By the time we're here in September, school will have started, so we'll know who started the year with us, and so I'll have those updated ratios for you.
Yes. So include special education. Underneath it says include special education, which should be IEP. Include ESSER and ARPA
ESSER and ARPA
funds. So IEP is a very expensive program. So are we spending 14,867 on IEP to one student?
That's an average.
Correct.
That's an average.
On the average, we are spending 15,000 on IEP student as well.
So there are some of our special education students that cost us a lot
Yes,
more,
yes.
and there are some who cost us 14,000, and there are some, not many, who cost, well, there might be one or two that cost us slightly less than that.
IEP teachers are herself is so expensive.
It's not the teacher's fault, it is the programming and the services,
Yeah.
and so that is not about the teachers, that is about.
I'm just saying their expertise demand, they have more schooling.
Well, the student needs are exceptional
Yes,
by definition.
yes. So IEP programs are very expensive,
Yes.
and that's good
Okay.
because we have money to spend.
And so I just want to go back, so what you just pointed out, the ESSER and ARPA funds are included in that. So remember Black River Falls received a lot of one-time money, COVID funds, both ESSER and ARPA are different names for COVID funds. We received a lot because of our demographics in our community. And so we are above that state average by a little bit more significantly this year than we were last year. It will be interesting to see what happens next year when nobody has the COVID money to impact that. So that's just, it will be interesting to see if that gap between us and the state will be as wide or if it will close.
Because of those two funding, average is slightly high.
Correct.
It will, one time last year, Jill told us it is not 12,000 but it is 11,000. It clearly says 11,908. But it has increased, the average.
ESSER.
The ESSER and the ARPA are included, so that you've got, over the 3 years following, your numbers are, your averages go up because you have additional funding, but it's not something we're getting continually, it's just a one-time thing. So the 11,908 will be what we revert back to during a like a year that's not additional
Yeah,
funding.
without ESSER and ARPA fund, it should be 11,000, which is still more than $17 million. It's pretty decent money, still either way.
But if you take the number of staff that you have and their average salary, you'll see that most of the things that the school district uses that money
Transportation
on
and facility, so it's
is instructional.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
transportation is there,
like,
buses.
we have to pay our teachers and our principals and our staff and facility.
So this money will be only invested in education or also in the sports? That is my question.
This is the education cost.
No sports directors, no sports activities.
No.
This money will not invested in sports.
That is not accurate.
It's not accurate, right?
What you just said is not accurate. Clubs, sports, activities are included as part of a student's education. So those costs are included in those funds.
And also breakfast and lunches included?
No,
They are out.
they are out.
Okay. So the sports and education all in that.
Correct.
I just want to learn
Yeah.
what is going
Yeah.
on.
When Jill shows you guys the budget, this is all the 100,000s, and all of those choices on that next page, those are all the 200,000s. Direct instruction, supportive instruction. So this one is all direct instruction.
And probably some supportive instruction too. Oh, yeah. Like,
Okay. Oh, counselors, I forget about those. Yeah,
counselors.
sorry.
um,
Yep, I still think of them as direct instruction.
Yeah. The only thing not in there in this, according to the DPI's calculation, this is the DPI's calculation, not mine, is transportation and facilities from Fund 10. Everything else is included.
Transportation and Fund 10. What did you say?
So the numbers that are in this education cost per member is everything in our general operating budget except transportation and facility costs.
Oh, so this money will be not invested into the facility cost or the buses.
Correct.
Correct.
It's purely education.
Yes.
That is a news for me, but it's a good news. I like it.
If you go to that source that's on the other document, you can see it describes it better than I am probably.
I appreciate the feedback and input, and I don't know if that card is useful for you, but it is useful for me to make sure we are moving on all of our pillars, not just
Thank
one.
you for bringing it together.
I think it's good.
Just annual sharing of this data, Michelle.
We can call it that. where we're at.
100%. Some of these we only do the family surveys one time, so really it's only updated one time.
All right, that is the end of the 6 series. On the 7s, the summer professional development review, I believe, Dr. Sullivan, this is you.
It was just a brief little, I mean, you can speak to it for sure.
I think, just a brief little loop of the total number of hours that teachers have put in over the summer, essentially. I think it's a spreadsheet.
It's really small print, sorry.
And just that we were still able to support a lot of this with some of that grant funding that we had. And so there was just a ton of work done over the summer in the different curriculum areas. Last month I shared the idea of implementation of guaranteed and viable curriculum and why that is so essential, and that's a lot of work. So in public comment we talked about fidelity. Part of fidelity is really identifying what those standards are and doing this kind of foundational work to get that guaranteed and viable curriculum implemented. So across the outside you kind of see, we took the names off, this is how they signed up, the different work and the number of hours that people are willing to put in over their summer. So when you say that teachers have off in the summer, this is testament that there's a lot of people working.
How is the compensation for this for the staff? Is it
They get, oh my goodness,
like
24, okay, I was gonna say that, and I was like, am I right?
$24 an hour.
Yeah, for each.
okay? So they are paid for each hour that they put in.
Yeah.
Is that I have heard other districts are not necessarily doing that for some things.
Correct. Yeah. And so they have to ask, this year we had that out of school time grant that allowed Nicole to say yes a lot more. In the year, in the years that it's just her C&I budget, we have to say, you can have half of that time, but we can't afford you to do all that time. So
That grant was just a 1-year
yes,
award for 1 year.
it was the end of the ESSER funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Questions on that one?
You're next.
Oh, okay, I'll stay.
We'll leave employment recommendations first.
Oh, sorry.
You're welcome to stay. Employment recommendations were either folders.
For everyone's update, we are contracting with a third-party company for one of our high school special ed positions. We simply could not find anyone in our region. There are at least 5 high school special ed openings that we're aware of in our small region, and so the likelihood of us finding 2 teachers there was slim to none. So Melanie and Kim worked on, it's a company that they find licensed staff that are willing to work. It costs us a lot more because of course the company is going to make some money and the teacher's going to make some money, and unfortunately that person is not coming on site. They are going to work virtually, which means we're going to have to use some of our staff at the high school a little bit differently to make sure that when the teacher is giving the instruction virtually that there's another adult in the room to make sure it is happening and the kids are engaging appropriately. And the caseloads for the remaining teachers, because even with that electronic teacher, we're still down 1 full-time special ed teacher. Caseloads are going to get higher, and so we're going to monitor once all kids' butts are in seats and see where we're at there. We also just lost an 8th grade English language arts teacher on Friday, and so when we look at English language arts scores, we are the week before kids come, and we have nobody. Mr. Nortman has been extremely aggressive and has just put in tons of time searching and calling, and I'm not super proud of it, but we've called people that we know that work in other districts and asked if they would possibly jump ship, and they all say, I couldn't do that to them this late. And yet we had that happen to us. So it's unfortunate, but those are the 3 open teaching positions, and we have several open support staff positions. They've interviewed and hired all that they can from that last pool, and there just wasn't enough applicants for the number of positions that we had open. So each building is working through their schedules, trying to figure out how they're going to start with less than a full staff for support staff. So that is not great news to have to share.
Just kind of an odd question, but have we reached out to any retired staff?
Oh yeah.
And any interest, or are they happy to be retired?
Yep.
So we do need to approve these because that's professional staff on theirs.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Love it.
All right. Nicole, you're up again. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a busy week, so I'm trying to do a little multitasking here. So I believe the next thing I'm talking about is some of the plan changes to the plan that we have put in place for onboarding our new teachers and instructors. So I think so far the feedback has been really positive for the changes that we implemented this last year. And so for our new teacher onboarding, it really begins there, and they're in that interview, right? So we give all of our new teachers the opportunity to ask us questions, and we'll get them to know us as we are getting to know them. And then they receive a letter. So then we have a new teacher mentor committee that meets all summer long as people are hired, and we think about that new teacher, and we think about the grade level they're in or the department, depending on the level in the system, and we assign each new teacher with a mentor. And so and that's important, which we'll go into more in the next slide, but this was just some information, it's from 2023, about just things to know about teacher shortage in Wisconsin, and we are starting to feel more and more of the impact of that. So I won't read the data to you or that information, but it is good to know as a background of the importance of doing all that we can as our whole system to welcome new teachers into our community and to keep them here. So on the next slide, you're gonna see a number, and that's 92%. And so that's important because there's a lot of research out there that 92% of teachers, first-year teachers assigned a mentor, return to their classroom, not necessarily in their district, but will stay in the profession. So the importance of mentoring is hugely important. And what we've found is not just the technical aspects of teaching, like here's where you should put your garbage can, which is really important, but also that emotional side, right? Like someone to be there and just listen and be like, you're gonna be okay, and be that cheerleader throughout the school year. So this is what that mentor team looks like, and we have a handbook that we use for helping onboard our mentors each year. So that mentor team does a training with all of our new mentors every year. To ensure that they are going over all the things that should be. There's a lot of process and a lot of checklists and things that go into this. So then on the next slide, just the fact that it's not just the mentors, it's our whole system. We have district level support, we have coaches, we have the PLC team, the principals provide a lot of supports for our new teachers, and then the mentors. And then on the next slide, we have monthly seminars that are the third Monday, the third Wednesday in each month, and I shared a link to some of the topics that we did last year. One which was hugely well received is Dr. Severson met with each one of our new teachers, I think it was in the month of October, November, somewhere in there, and got some feedback about how their year was going. Additionally, this year, while Dr. Severson goes over the handbook, which can be kind of like a boring topic, but believe it or not, it can be super interesting with the right energy to it. And some of our new teachers have been new teachers the year before, and they were just really impressed that the superintendent had dedicated that much time to sit with them and be there during the day. So then on the next slide, Elena Aguilar is an expert in instructional coaching. So you've had this time and time to read it, but it's just really thinking we need people who are strong teachers, because we know that's the #1 difference maker in student achievement. So then on the next slide.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Is there a way we can weave parents into this? Because I feel like oftentimes I find as a parent that I want more opportunities to show appreciation for the teachers, and I myself was sort of bombarded like, hey. But I think that maybe if we could add a parent support in for new staff or something that allows them to see how not just they're impacting and feeling supported in the building, but that their efforts and everything they're doing is reaching out so much further than that into homes and into the community that they're in. Would it be possible to do something like that?
What immediately jumped into my mind, for first time teachers, parent teacher conferences can be horribly stressful. They are 24 years old and they have a parent come in and they may or may not be pleased and just how to talk to, right? They don't have kids of their own. And so I'm wondering if prep for parent teacher conferences would be a great resource for parents to show some support.
definitely.
And I think that's a good project for the TCO
Yeah.
as well to get.
Yeah.
I like it. Adopt a new teacher, that's a really good idea. They just basic little things like, oh, here's a stapler that's cute, you know, like different things, or an Amazon wish list, but I think there's some amazing things that we could do. I love that. So this is not up to date, so I put this together last week, just because I wanted to make sure when you asked me where we were, I could give you accurate information, and so I actually just updated you that there's some differences between what is here now. And what I wanted to also say about this is that we have a smaller group. That's really exciting, so because that means less turnover, so this is really good news. So on the next slide, this is where like some of those changes are. So I am really proud of myself for this slide because I have the change with the caterpillars on the bottom because I'm trying really to not just put words. Okay, so we technology onboarding, we did that differently. So we used to have the teachers come in for 2 days. They did this. They walked into this big room, and it's all full of people, and it was kind of overwhelming. So this year we did a soft landing. So the teacher's first day was with the principal and their mentor in the building, and then they got to go into their classroom and just be there. And then the second day we had the big district day, and then in previous years we had a third day which is all technology, and Paul Dutton and I went over all the technology with the whole group. And as you can imagine, every time you try to teach technology, it doesn't matter what group you are, this isn't working, that's happening, and it's just like, it was hard and stressful and not like a great time. We changed that all this year. So Paul made individual appointments throughout the week with each of our new staff, and ensured that they could get into all of the pieces that they needed to in a one-on-one.
In their setting,
and
like he went to their classroom,
Yeah.
which I think was great.
And so that has gotten some really positive feedback so far. Okay, so that so the second thing was on the first day's agenda, how we changed that. And then just meant different mentor letters that I thought would be interesting for you to see. The first contact, so they get that contact at the hire, and then they get this contact where we ask our mentors to reach out and maybe give them a phone call. We give them their different numbers for their mentor, so that there can be this person that they know before they come in on the first day. And like today, many of our mentors sat with their new teacher when they walked into, because that's intimidating too, walking into the Wanda Center and having all that really big and knowing somebody. So those personal connections are the things that matter. And then, I don't know, maybe there's more things on this. Oh, that's all I got. Sorry.
Nice graphics, Nicole. Nice graphics.
So, there's lots of color. Are there any other questions?
I just want to say, like, kudos for being able to say, like, ooh, that didn't go quite as well as we had hoped, and it didn't quite land, and being able to, like, make those adjustments. I think it really speaks to just kind of the entire district as a whole, kind of the ability to self-evaluate a little bit and make those corrections without having to be, policy-driven, but just, like, that you want it to be the best it can be, too. So, good job.
There's a whole team, all these people, as well as myself. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is alternative ed.
All right. Melanie and Mr. Erickson, come on down.
So I think I gave everybody a copy of our at-risk program brochure and the application, just so you have a printed copy of that. You wanna go to the next slide, Jill? So in my new role, I'm learning all of the ins and outs of all the different programs for our district. So I'm going to start off with what does it mean to be at risk. This is an important state statute. So children at risk of not graduating from high school are defined under that state statute as pupil in grades 5 through 12 who are at risk of not graduating from high school because they're dropouts or 2 or more of the following from that list. So 1 or more years behind their age group in the number of credits that they've attained, 2 or more years behind their age group in basic skill levels, or meeting that habitually truant definition. They can also be parents, adjudicated delinquents, or 8th grade pupils who score in each subject area on our assessments that is below basic, the basic level. Students who have failed that examination, and 8th grade pupils who have failed to be promoted to the 9th grade. Next one.
Yeah, next slide. All right, so the plan I believe you guys have in your hands, so you can look at that. It's a fairly extensive document. So we're not going to read that to you, but we're just going to highlight a couple changes to our at-risk programming. So one of those is introducing the APEX program, formerly known as the WIN program. It's no longer at the high school. WIN program is still at the middle school. It's just semantics, I guess, of what we want to call it. So the APEX program is a school within a school. So we hired a new alternative ed teacher at the high school that is going to be running that program for freshmen and sophomores at the high school level. A little bit about that program. So as freshmen, it's going to be a 15-person cohort, and they are going to travel together to their core classes. And they're going to have support in that classroom, and they're going to get taught by the high school teachers or curriculum teachers, which is different from what it was last year. We're really excited about that change. They will still go to their elective courses, and then they'll have, as one of their electives, they'll have a peak success hour, which is going to work with that teacher, that alternative ed teacher that we hired, and going to be doing some skill building, some homework support, and things of that nature that hour. The middle school is going to also be doing a school within a school. They are calling that the WIN program. Pretty similar philosophy is what we are trying to do at the high school. We are moving the Phoenix program over to the old bus garage. Like I had stated earlier, really convenient to get more adults over in that building and support our Phoenix students who are doing their online credit recovery learning. And then, as Kim had mentioned earlier, the high school summer school credit recovery, our minimum is 80% attendance for that class. We think it's really important for those kids to at least get to the material, hear the material in order to make up that credit in the summer. Any questions at all about new additions to our plan?
So our vision for our all-dad programs is that really using an individualized plan. So in the school district of Lake River Falls, we create an individualized path to future success for every student through consistent practices of dedicated educators and meaningful partnerships with families and our community. So our alt-ed programs focus on academics, personal, social skill building, and college and career readiness.
All right, so some of our screening application process. So at the high school, we have transition meetings with parents and students. Grade level conferences with high school counselors. Our counselors check in with our students, every single student throughout the year, and with their families. And then our CAS meetings is the administration and our social workers that meet once a week to talk about students that might need additional supports. Do they have that packet in there too?
I have to click on that one to see what it was. If that was the one that links the application, then they do have that one. Do that?
Yeah. And so then the last piece of this is the data collection, so our numbers from last year. My hopes is that we've cleaned this form up a little bit. Last year we had a little bit of confusion of what the numbers meant. So Shelley and myself kind of had a conversation, and I think we defined these categories where I think it makes a little bit more sense. So going to our Renaissance program, so it's our high school alternative ed program that is run through the Tech, Western Tech. So we had 4 graduates from that program this last year. We had 1 that dropped for not attending, and we had 1 that moved district. So 4 out of our 6 had graduated that program. Phoenix program, so that is for our juniors and seniors primarily. We will have some sophomores in this as well in this upcoming year. So this number, as you can see on the 2003-2004, is very high, right? So we had 60 students that were in the Phoenix program at some point last year. And so how that kind of breaks down is, so 28 graduated. But you gotta remember that there are juniors there as well that aren't going to graduate, right? So that number is below there. So there's 28 that graduated. There's 20 that were juniors at Phoenix that are gonna be going back as a senior to that program. We had 7 that did not graduate. So when I look at it, the not attending and not meeting graduation requirements really go hand in hand, right? If a student was not attending, putting a lot of effort or time into their academics, they were not on path to graduate. And so we did have some students that moved in as seniors, very credit deficient, that didn't finish the program. And then we had some students that had been in that program for a couple of years that didn't get the allotted amount of credits to reach graduation. So that number is 7. As you move down there, a couple that didn't return, so moved from the district while they were in the program. A couple that we did have one that joined the high school that came back to us during the year last year, and then one that joined Challenge Academy, so didn't finish or graduate out of the Phoenix program. So that's kind of how those numbers break down. Any questions about the Phoenix program?
You must have fixed the data then if they don't have questions. Good work.
Let's hope so. If you want to scroll down, Jill, there's still a couple columns down there that I just want to highlight really quick. So Challenge Academy, we had 3 students at the high school that went to the Challenge Academy and 3 that graduated from there. And then at the bottom is the WIN program, so kind of how the numbers broke down last year. There was 1 middle schooler in the WIN program. There was 7 freshmen, 8 sophomores, and 2 juniors that were in that program.
And I will compliment you that, yes, the data makes sense. Now, I remember being confused by this in the past.
Yep.
When Nate inherited the data, this year he got to generate it for the year, so.
Looking forward to continued good data. Anything else on this?
So the LTED plan actually needs board approval on an annual basis. The at-risk plan, that is part of state statute, that this is what an at-risk student is, and this is our plan for addressing that. So that component needs board approval.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Instructional groupings subcommittee. I can't remember, Nick, you were part of this, correct?
Yeah. I think we met, was it last Monday? Tuesday?
I believe so.
It was me, Jenna, Edgar, Shelley, and Nicole discussed, a pretty good discussion, I think. And we moved to, like, we're gonna have a meeting, I guess, September 10th. Right.
I'm gonna double check before I confirm, but I believe so.
Just looked at it today.
That's what we talked about.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
With like the middle school math teachers and Mr. Norman to possibly implement some type of grouping for the math in the middle school, which will also help implement the Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Because it's not like a really good transition right now. So that's the progress so far.
Right. Senator, if there are anything to add?
Yeah, Nick has talked very correctly how to do grouping. We also talked about the foundation of school is 1st and 2nd grade. This is where the things goes out of order. 1st grade at this moment, according to our last data, 75 students are behind. And in a 2nd grade, mathematics, 44 students behind. And also ELA, 2nd grade, 60 students behind. This is our foundation. If we can fix that, we will no problem They are the student eventually become 4th grade, 5th grade, 9th grade, 10th. They are the one. No one is coming out of the heaven. They are the one. So we talked about it, that we have to utilize more resources in a 1st and 2nd grade to have a strong foundation of English and mathematics, to know all the rules. Also, I would suggest 3rd grade as well. If these 3 grades are properly intact, nobody is behind. They will always do much better in the 4th, 5th, 6th grade. Things will be much easier. They will be not overwhelmed what teacher is talking about. They are overwhelmed because of these 2 foundation things. So we talk about in that ad hoc meeting that we could utilize our resources. For example, today we have learned $20 million. If we were to hire 100 teacher, each one will get $100,000, that's 10 million. Still we have a 10 million in hand. So that will be in the future agenda. I would like to place the request.
So just to be clear, you understand that we already employ a number of teachers, right? And we're spending that $20 million.
Yeah, but the result doesn't show the effect. So this was my suggestion in that meeting. So the 1st and 2nd grade, fix those two grades.
Can I ask you a question?
Let me complete my whole stuff, then you can interrupt. If you have observed me, I never interrupt whoever talk, because this is how we have been learned. Okay, so that was that. And then whatever the problem has already arisen, like right now, I wrote one example. Right now, we have 121 students in the 8th grade. 75 of them are behind. So 32 are behind 1 grade level, 16 are behind 2 grade level, 27 are behind 3 or more grade level. So we will have a one teacher teaching 27 students who are 3 grade level behind. So they don't know 5th grade mathematics. Sitting in the 8th grade, it will be overwhelming for them. Similarly, 16 students 2 grade level behind, we will hire another mathematics teacher who will teach them those who are 2 grade level behind. Similarly, 32 students who are behind 1 grade level, another teacher. So these will be separate groups. In order to get rid of all those things, we will also target foundation of the school. Foundation of the school, 1st and 2nd grade. So these problems should never come up. Why they are coming up? It means something. It means something we did not, something we ignored, and the data, the numbers clearly says they are behind. So we have another meeting coming up. I don't know if it is legal or not legal. You folks could attend our ad hoc meeting, sit down as a spectator, listen what we talk about. And I have my notes. I don't know I have a permission to share with you my notes. I can give you one copy of it. Sherry, do I have permission to give them my notes? Or it is top secret?
It's your paper.
Yeah.
I mean, they're your notes.
I think the key was for you to summarize your notes in your discussion here.
Yeah, that's what I summarize.
Okay.
I spoke about my notes. But notes are written in such a way where the original data is depicted. Nothing I made up my mind. Nothing I did make it up. It is all about the real data, the real numbers, what to do, and how to fix it for the lifetime. So it should not happen ever again. But we are working on it. We have another meeting coming up, then hopefully 3rd meeting. It takes some time, 5-6 meeting, I don't know. But thank you for arranging this ad hoc meeting, ad hoc committee. You are the one who did it. Casey Miss?
No, I didn't. It was voted on by the whole.
Yeah, but you are the one who understood the importance of it.
Jeanette, you have anything to add?
I think Nick summed it up very well.
All right, thank you. Looking forward to your next update. All right, finance and facilities, monthly expenditures, as always, in your packet.
Actually, Michaela wanted to talk.
Oh, I'm good.
You good?
I am so good.
I will add though, seeing we hit pause for a second, that I always find it important at times like this when we're discussing things like if we hire X amount of teachers, everything's magically gonna fix. I think we'd be remiss to not acknowledge the fact that there are always extenuating and existing circumstances that students face, such as problems at home, drug or alcohol abuse, maybe being in foster care, or other circumstances that exist that contribute to the student's success overall. So nothing's going to magically change, as he said, like some problems will always exist, and I think it would be silly not to acknowledge that there are other factors outside of hiring 1 million teachers. Like if you have 30 students and all of them are having a problem at home, you can hire 1 million teachers and those 30 students are still going to have trouble succeeding. So, thank you.
My perspective of this committee is we're not gonna hire extra teachers.
I was just responding to his magical answers to everything, so.
That's my perspective anyways. We're not hiring more teachers, we're putting the kids in groups so that they're at different levels.
But we get that part, but then he segued into something about hiring extra teachers and all these magical fixes.
So number is the 75 students, so at least we need 3 extra teachers, if not 3, how about 4? I'm not talking about 100. These 75 students are someone's children.
So
we do not want to deceive our constituent.
So I'm going to point out that Dan is probably desperately back there emailing everyone he can think of to hire 1 ELA and math teacher. I think Christina is short a first grade teacher.
Has a first grade teacher now.
Has a first grade teacher?
Yes, we were very fortunate to find a first grade teacher, so.
While
Hot
you're
off the presses. No, I did
What?
you did the recommendation to hire this morning or
Yeah.
Friday?
okay.
Yeah.
So we are short. I don't even want to ask aides right now. I think Brandon, what did you tell me? Like 4 aides this morning, or so we have all sorts of positions open for anyone that wants to work here. We are definitely hiring. So hiring 100 additional teachers, I think, would be
No, 100. No, it was a figure of speech. 100 would be not an elementary. That will cause the law of diminishing return. You know it. So it was a figure of speech. If we were to hire, but that will be. I will put it in the future agenda. So then it make it more legal.
okay. All right. 9.1 monthly expenditures again in the packet. Any questions for Jill? Otherwise, we need approval.
I make a motion to approve.
All right. I will second that. Further discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next, further update on the school forest.
So after having some additional conversations around the community about our school forest area, I've met with several individuals. I believe I told you last month that Albion is interested in gifting the district their portion of it, but remember, it's not evenly divided into 4 chunks. You are a joint owner of the whole space, so it's not like that would be a little carve out. My understanding of our last conversation was reach out to the other entities and see if they are also interested in gifting the land to us. So I met with the city and I visited with Adams, the chairperson for Adams County. Nope, township, not county. Sorry, it has been a long day. And had conversations about it. The city was like, yep, we can probably make that happen. Adams was feeling like I need a lot more information about this. while I was working through those 4 entities, Jim Zahaski, who works at the forestry department, reached out, and he has been if you go through the whole school forest folder since 1962 when we started collecting things, he has entered in and out of it many times with different documents. And so he was also contacted by the same gentleman that spoke to the board, and so he left me a lovely message saying, let's work through this together because what's happening is not anybody's intention. Let's have a conversation. So I went and met with Jim Zahaski. He did not have all the documents that I did, so I gave him copies of our folder, and he said, what it all boils down to is the original quitclaim deed in which the county gave that land to those 4 entities. They retained 3 primary rights. It was mineral rights to the land, forest, timber, that's the word I was thinking. I was like lumber, timber rights to the land, and they could not control the hunting on that land. It does not say must be opened. It doesn't say any of that. It just that the 4 parties do not control the hunting on the land. So those 3 rights were maintained by the county, even though ownership went to those 4 entities. In a later document in that folder, they released the timber rights. They said, we don't still need those anymore. If you need to clear some timber off there, you go ahead and do it. They still retain the hunting and the mineral rights. So in talking to Mr. Zahaski, he said that he does not believe it matters who owns that land. He does not believe the county is going to forever give up the right to control hunting on that property. And so I said, what would you suggest? And he said, honestly, if Albion wants to absolve themselves of any ownership, great, you could accept that piece, and then it's the district and Adams and Brockway and the city that own that property. And he said that he and I would go talk to the county board and we would explain what it's being used for. And every one of those 4 entities already have documents that say we want the district to use this land for educational purposes. So none of those entities are saying we don't want kids there, we don't want the school there. They probably assumed we owned it. They just don't care. But others care a lot. So what he is suggesting is that we would go to the county board and we would say, so we are now a 1/4 owner, and he would make a recommendation to the county board that we be allowed to post no hunting. When we knew school field trips were coming, he suggested like a week in advance. We could go post no hunting this date to this date because of field trips coming, and then those signs would be taken down after that trip is made. He really believes that the county board would fully support that because of the original intent of that whole land transfer. All of those pieces were for education to take place out on that land. So he says he doesn't think it matters if we own it or if the other entities still own it. He still doesn't think that we are going to be able to control whether hunting happens on that land or not. The individual that came to speak with the board is still very concerned about the gate that exists. Mr. Zahaski assured me there is no expectation that all county hunting land must be accessible by driving your car there. He said you are 100% within your rights to have that gate there. There's no reason that you can't. Just because the county controls hunting does not mean that someone has to be able to drive up to that hunting spot. So I'm asking the board, do you want me to continue with the city, Adams and Brockway, and try to seek ownership? Or do we not care who owns it, knowing Albion's going to give us their rights to it, so then we'd be 1/4 owner, and go to the county board and ask for their permission to be able to post no hunting while we are out there. The individual that came to speak with the board has also suggested just don't go there anymore, use Castle Mound, because that's already a park, there's already no hunting there. The district has invested some funds in that school forest. We have a building that we've erected, we've got lots of supplies. When classes go out there, that stuff lives there, so they're not hauling it all over the place. We've managed some of the land areas, so we've got some money invested in there. And so I'm not sure walking away is helpful to us in any way, because we do have a right to be there per each of those 4 entities. So I'm asking what direction you would like me to go.
If we had all parts ownership, for lack of a better word, we would then have the ability to control all 3 aspects, such as the mineral. Could not, so it doesn't matter either way. Okay.
ownership or not, we can't control those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I suggest continuing the conversations about ownership, but also approaching the board? And if you did approach the board, would you like one of us to go with you as a representative of the board?
Mr. Zahaski, I feel like is extremely well respected, and he said that the reason he doesn't think, he said, I think that county board is going to want kids out there, and they are going to want kids to be safe, and they're not going to want to give up all hunting rights there. He said that there's been private people, individuals who have purchased county land, and the county has attached that same quitclaim deed for those 3 rights, and those individuals who own that property and who've built on that property have petitioned to be able to control the hunting on their personal property, and the county has not supported it. So he doesn't think that they would do a permanent. He thinks it's commonsensical that they would do, allowing us to temporarily post. So when we have that meeting, if there's anyone that wants to join, you're very welcome to. He felt very confident that they would be comfortable with that resolution, was his advice to me.
So would it be like on this day between like 8 to 3 or something?
Yep.
You know, it doesn't, it seems
doable,
logical kind of, I guess, you know?
How many days do our students actually?
Yeah, I was gonna look that up and then it didn't bug people and ask. Any, can I interrupt for, any idea how many field trips to the school forest? How many days you have kids going out there?
I would say like 3, but not last year. Like our 4th grade does a big forestry unit, they head out there, but snow was kind of tough to come down by this year.
Right, and usually they go out snowshoeing and stuff
Right.
there, but last winter wasn't really winter,
Sure.
yeah.
5-6 years ago, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th used it once or twice or 3 times a year.
Yeah. And then our high school science used to use it quite heavily, so it all kind of ebbs and flows. The teacher's interest really impacts that a lot.
So we're not talking a large number of days.
And I do think it makes sense on our end, let's not plan a field trip during rifle hunting, deer hunting season, right? Like, let's not do that. So we can certainly be smart about our field trip timing as well.
But I think one piece that's important is that, and from my perspective with this, is the fact that we really don't have a say right now. So if the township of Albion was to gift, you know, their parcel, we'll call it, or portion to the school district.
Share of the parcel.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
a parcel, it's a share of ownership
Share,
of the
yep.
parcel.
Then I feel like we have a little bit more voice in like what can and can't be done.
Just to be clear, Mr. Zahaski did not think that ownership mattered at all, because we have documents from each of those 4 municipalities that say this property is for use by the school district of Black River Falls for educational purposes. So he said they've given you all usage rights that they have to offer. He didn't think ownership was going to matter one way or the other.
Is there any negatives to receiving ownership now?
Yes, not that I can imagine.
Like property taxes?
We're a government entity, so no.
No.
So it seems like it would make sense to, they're offering.
Continue to pursue ownership?
I mean, if Albion's gonna give us their quarter, is at least, I think, worth a conversation. If, you know, if the other 3 entities immediately say no, then we know the answer to that question, and,
I've had about 15 individuals in this community say, I've never heard so much talk about that school forest in the last 30 years,
Yeah.
so.
Go ahead.
I also feel like we're saving the next
board
from having to
Right.
deal with the 35 people and 95 entities that are all not a figure of speech, of course, I'm exaggerating, but to just slim the conversation down as much as we can for them, so that when, you know, there are questions in the future, there isn't quite as much legwork to do.
Sure.
So that individual who came and delivered a 3 minutes comment about the forest and everything, he did not stop us, our children go there.
No.
No.
He never stopped us.
No.
So why we are talking?
Because he also didn't want us to be able to post that people could not be actively hunting while we had kids out there. I have a problem with sending a field trip out there when there are people hunting.
Oh yes.
So that's why we're talking.
So I think
Not in the hunting season. Yeah, go ahead.
from a perspective, and this is just my perspective, I think I appreciate what Shelley's saying about us having the ability to kind of do what we want out there, but I think from, I guess, the perception, I think would be much better if we were actually one of the 4 owners, okay? And I guess I would make a recommendation that until we are in one of those positions, that we would not keep the place, like the gate could be there, but we would not keep the gate locked at this time.
I agree with your recommendation.
So,
But
but,
I think,
go ahead, Brad.
From Jim's recommendation, I don't think, right, it matters if we have ownership because we've been given rights of use, right?
Yep, no, I understand.
He's talking
that
about the court of
completely.
public opinion.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm more about perception here and like us saying like, look, you know, we understand, you know, from our perspective, like there's some steps that we need to take before we can probably be a little bit more formal in the way that we control what's there. I also understand the risk in the fact that we do have a building out there and we have materials inside that building, so I think as a group, you know, I think that's part of the decision that we would have to make.
In county land, though, there's lots of gates that you can walk around, you can't drive through, you can walk around them.
Yep, I understand.
Mr. Norman was the school forest super for whatever for a while, and he's had his hand up.
Yep, I'm sorry,
Possibly
I
speak.
can't see that.
Go ahead.
But, the other part of the gate is just the fact that I take and dump or pick up loads of garbage out of there when people go back there and dump it. They just do as much as drive around the gates, so forth and so on. And the writing and stuff on the wall, they can do that by walking, but it's a lot easier when you can drive in. I do spend a fair amount of time on county land, and I would say probably 80% of the trails are blocked off, or they're gated and locked, so you can't drive back there. And a lot of the reasons is because people are back there tearing it up or dumping garbage. And I'm afraid that our school forest would be much like the county forest, where they're taking dump truck loads and dump truck loads every single fall because people are just dumping garbage out there. And I'm really afraid if we don't have a gate up there, our school forest will be trashed. So that trail goes back about a mile into a moss bed. So there's all kinds of places for them to drive back there, dump garbage and leave. And it's gonna be
Thanks for that perspective.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is that I'd like to motion to bring it to a vote on whether or not we were to lock or unlock the gate, and just as a board to
So,
vote on it.
So you need to move either to lock or, so not either.
You have to take a stance
Yeah,
one
you have
way or
to-
the other
sure.
to make
Are
a
you
motion.
Can you explain to me why unlocking it would be, because if as a non-current owner with granted use, what is the perception you're concerned about if it's locked? I'm just just for clarity's sake,
It's just openness to people that know that they can utilize the space for hunting if they choose to.
oh, okay.
You know, I mean, obviously our signage is down, so there's nothing that's posted that would say that they couldn't be there, so. But I understand the argument both ways, I feel like as a whole, like I think the board should give Shelley some direction on what we would wanna do with this.
Is
That
it
way,
already
it's
locked?
not, it's
It
not
is
on,
locked now.
it's not on her,
How many
it's on
acres is it
this
now?
40,
It's 40?
40 acres.
It's not much
I thought this,
It's 40, isn't it?
I thought it was 10 acres.
Well, our fourth would be
Okay,
Yeah.
10 imaginary acres not divided.
The whole parcel's 40.
okay.
But it's already locked and nobody has expressed that it
What?
being locked is
The
a
one
problem.
individual who
What-
spoke to the board
Yeah.
has expressed out loud.
Okay, I didn't remember that. So he wants it unlocked and the
wants the
signage
gate taken
down,
off.
so we took this out.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
not, I think that's just a waste of resources to remove the gate, you know, it's.
So 40 acres owned by that individual who was speaking other day?
No,
No.
it's,
Why the 40 came? Why the 40 acres came?
that's what the school forest, that's the size of the school forest. That we have access to through Elby and Adams, Brockway, and the city.
Would it be beneficial to finish conversations about ownership before we decide whether it's locked or unlocked?
Yes. Ownership is
But I think the fact that, you know, we're basically given the right to utilize it
Right.
through these 4 entities. I mean, we're not in the ownership discussion right now.
I've been contacted by an attorney for Albion, so
We're close. Okay.
I think maybe finishing that would be before we unlock it and end up with like, you know, a 2-day trash pickup. Finishing the conversation that way first would make more sense to me, but I see what you're saying too.
So when they do like a field trip there, It's been a lot of years for me, I can't remember. Do they open the gate and drive the buses in there?
Correct.
I mean, the other thing we could do is, the fact, if we were to just leave it locked and to ask particular individuals to just contact us because they have some sort of a disability or whatever, they would need access to drive in, to reach out and, you know, we would accommodate and
That makes
unlock the
sense to
gate.
me.
Yeah, you know, so I guess to me, that would probably be the biggest thing to potentially vote on today, is the ability for someone to reach out and ask for the gate to be unlocked so that they could access the property.
Casey, it will be a hassle to people call, and sometimes people just spontaneously make up their mind and they go and enjoy their time. They won't be calling and this, that. That person who was talking, he was quoting so many laws. Are we breaking any law?
We are not.
No.
No.
Our legal counsel is extremely confident we are well within our rights.
You heard him talking.
Yep.
He was quoting different
Yep.
laws, and I am not an attorney to understand
He
that.
didn't have all the documents that I have. He didn't have all of the different minutes and resolutions signed by all of those different municipalities. So I have since given him all those documents. He doesn't like it, but he now has all of them. So he has all the same information.
You already mailed him those.
I've met him, yes.
Oh, no, you already mailed him the document.
Yes.
You,
As he came to meet with me, I kept asking Marty, would you go make a copy of this? Would you go make a copy of this? But so we gave him, I am not trying to hide anything. They are all legal documents. We have this great big file and the county doesn't have all the records that we have. That doesn't mean that ours aren't legitimate. It just means Teresa Body was an amazing record keeper in the district office for all those years.
But regardless, we at this time don't have ownership of it. You're working on that. So it's really, in my opinion, not up to us whether we lock it or not, just because we have the right to use it.
It is
It would be
100.
up to those four.
But we've been granted use of it.
Right, and we can use it, but what does that have to do with us unlocking and relocking doors to let everyone else in
Because
there?
we still don't have a right to prevent somebody from hunting on it.
No, that is not what that quitclaim deed says. We don't have a right to control hunting privileges on that land. And so there are thousands of county acres of hunting land that have locked gates.
Got it.
Mr. Zahaski was very clear with me. They have the right to hunt on it. They don't have the right to be able to drive right up to the spot that they want to hunt at. He was very, very clear about that. Because I asked him multiple times.
It's only 40 acres, so it's a quarter-mile walk. And if you're hunting on the east side and you can't walk a quarter mile, you probably should stay home.
Oh, wow.
I don't disagree with that.
Regardless, what gives us the right as having the ability to use the land to say, to open and close it for all the people that want to go there, I feel like that's not, how does that have anything to do with this?
Because all of those entities have treated that land as if we own it. I mean,
Even though we do not.
They don't do anything with that land. They steer clear of that land. That is considered big sign, school district of Black River Falls, school forest.
It's a little weird area for
It
like the
sure
school
is.
district to be
It
like,
sure
oh,
is.
you know, like I wanna go hunting this weekend, and we're like, yeah, we'll roll up and unlock that sucker. I feel like if it's been locked all these years and people can do as they wish and walk on and hunt, then maybe we should just leave it for now. So I would make a motion to leave it as it is until we have those further discussions, which Michaela already said would maybe be a good plan.
Yeah, I think the whole thing's just really muddy, and like, the less we can muddy the waters for whoever's coming next, the better.
All right, so so we're in discussion. We've got a motion before us now. We need a second before we can discuss it.
We have two motions.
Well, I don't think Casey
No, I
actually
didn't
finished.
really formally.
He didn't finish
Okay.
his, so.
No.
So we've got a motion to leave it as is, which for clarification is locked. So I'll go ahead and I'll second that motion. I would also like to amend that we put a sign with contact information on the gate.
I'll second, or I'll, okay.
So, yeah, the
Yeah, I'll
amendment
second
is a
the
second.
amendment.
What's the contact information?
That's
The-
not a thing.
Okay.
Robert's rules, that's not a thing.
In case someone,
and
and as far as I know at this point, there's only one person who I've heard from that wants access to this. And that would be the only person, so we could choose to
And
put a sign up.
Still can, right?
They just can't drive on it,
They
they
can
can
just
certainly
walk
walk.
right
Yep.
around that gate.
Yep.
We're good. So now we need a vote, because
Yep.
we had a
Well,
second.
yep, so is there further discussion on that? Otherwise,
Yeah, there should be a further discussion. This motion should be dismissed. I'm scared we are breaking the laws.
say that again.
I'm scared we are breaking the laws. That guy was talking about so many laws.
So we have our attorney, right, who has been very clear that we are not breaking any laws.
Where is that attorney?
What's that?
Where is that attorney? Do you see that? Where is that attorney?
Shelley talks
I
for-
spoke to the attorney, we exchanged a lot of emails, and I sent her documents, and I've got all of that.
I think we're all feeling a little bit like there's a lot of like different factors in play, and there's a lot of like gray, and that's why Shelley, thank you so much for heading this up, because what a mess. And I appreciate you willing to take the lead and keep heading it up. So I think we're just trying to make, you know, small steps towards a little bit more clarity for everything, legally and otherwise. So I totally support the perspective of, yeah, let's keep it locked, 'cause I don't want to empty trash out of 40 acres of woods and spend our staff time and our maintenance man doing that. But I think
You're not keeping anybody out of it. It's not no trespassing, nothing. It's open to the public.
so. Can we do a vote then?
Yep. All right, so all those in favor of leaving it as it is? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I oppose.
Aye.
Oh wait, are we doing it with the sign? With contact information?
Yeah, that was the amendment, yep.
Okay, I would agree with that.
All right, I have three
I
for,
oppose.
2 against, and 1 abstention then?
No, I'll go with the aye for the first one.
So I have 5 for, 2 against. All right, thank you, everyone.
We will get a sign out there. It's a really busy week for the maintenance department as we're trying to erect a scoreboard before
Yes,
football game
which has
next
priority
week. And
well above this.
so we will get a sign out there, but I'm not gonna make promises.
Push to get it out there before postseason opens.
When is?
September 15th-ish.
September, yeah, okay.
Can do it.
That'd be fair.
Can I just ask a question? Who put the gate in?
We did, the district,
Okay.
yep.
How many years has it been there then?
Oh gosh, as long as I've been in the district.
30? 40?
I remember taking a field trip out there when I was an elementary principal, so probably 20 years ago, and I forgot the key to the gate, so the bus had to sit there and wait while I ran back.
But just to be clear, they can still hunt there, correct?
Correct.
And they can still walk on it.
Anybody just
Wonderful.
It's not even like it's just on the path. I went out there just to look at what we were talking
Good
about.
for you, you could find it. It was the basement.
I have a husband who can find anything, but yeah.
Okay,
Alright.
I will keep you posted and I will move forward, because I have not reached out to Brockway yet, so I will move forward with Brockway and keep the training moving.
All right, thank you. All right, next, our policy on non-discrimination. Now, my understanding, and I should have asked you before this, so we have normally, when we change policy, we have 2 readings. There is no policy requiring our 2 readings. Policy has just been a matter of practice, not a matter of policy. So I assume, I guess, that you want to pass that tonight unless there's objections to that.
So, today I did the training with all of our staff, and as you all receive a W-2 from the district as well, you are also required to participate in Title IX training. As of August 1st, 2024, there was an updated guidance from the federal government. The staff was riveted by talk of sex discrimination and sexual harassment and what our district obligation is. This is the first time that the federal government put into writing that the basis for sexual harassment or discrimination could include the LGBTQI+ population. it has been practice of the Office of Civil Rights, both in the Trump administration and the Biden administration, to rule in this way, acknowledging all of those rights, but it has never been in writing before. So it's a pretty significant change to Title IX, which is why there's mandatory training for every single staff member who receives any compensation through federal funds. So today we did training for all of the teachers, and the riveting WASB recording is 49 minutes. You're very welcome to watch that. Or I watched it a couple times and I made an abbreviated version that's about 15 minutes of presentation. So I would like to schedule to do that with you at some board development in the semi-near future, so we can check that box that you guys have all been trained as well. This policy has been updated. It was extremely prescriptive. And if you recall, because we were moving to Neola, we weren't going to do policy meetings throughout the year this year because of that major review and audit and overhaul. And so we were legally supposed to have this in place by August 1st. It didn't feel great to just throw that at you before I better understood the changes to Title IX, or until there had been more sample policies put out there. Whether we have approved this policy or not, if we should get a complaint or we need to do an investigation under Title IX, we're going to follow the law as opposed to our outdated policy anyway. So just to be really clear, our actions will follow the law, not our policy. So if you would like to approve policy tonight, great. If you would like to wait on approving policy till after you've been trained on some of those updates, that works for me too. I'm not going to direct. So Melanie Floyd is our Title IX coordinator and investigator, and I would never ask her to do something that we knew was unlawful simply because the board had not formally adopted policy. If you decide to reprimand myself and her for operating outside of policy, that is 100% your wishes. So how about all that, right?
So what do we think? Do we want to take the training before passing this? Do you want to pass this?
I think passing it without doing what we've done in the past, which is have an additional reading for more understanding and for more questions, would be not a wise decision on our part.
Okay.
I do think
Since we're gonna just go by what law says anyway, I don't see what the urgency would be for us to break stride from the way that we've typically reviewed policy. And rushing it's not a good decision. My opinion. Okay, my opinion.
To be honest, that was my feeling as well, which is why I didn't throw something together for you in July. It felt like it was very rushed, and it's a big topic.
I'm with you. I agree. I feel like we should have something in place for these guys because we need to. We want them to be law abiding. So, is there some middle ground that we can leverage?
All you would have to do is, if we have to do an investigation and we take action that would be against the standing policy, you would decide whether you were going to reprimand us, slap us on the wrist, or whatever. So that would be this board's choice.
So this is already a policy that we have in place, and language has been added to it, or
Correct.
things have been, okay.
Yep, it has been updated.
And, okay.
I don't think there's a significant risk of anything around this. I don't know how frequently it happens, but it hasn't happened in my time on the board, so I'm comfortable waiting. We can take this as a first read unless someone feels otherwise.
I motion to take it as a first read.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Call that a first read.
Can we commit to when this board will engage in training? Would you like me to send you the video and you watch on your own time the 49-minute one? Or would you want to do that together as a group so that we can have more dialogue? What are your wishes?
We can get together and see it together,
That's what I'm asking.
and then we could have a dialogue.
That's what I'm asking, if the majority of the group would like to do that.
Yeah, that is my opinion. Let's see what they say.
We don't have any special meetings on the calendar unless we want to do this before or after another regular meeting. That gets to be a very long meeting, but we've done such things in the past.
Oh, can we, I guess, I don't know what all everybody's up to. I mean, can we do the abbreviated 15-minute, or do we need that? We need you present for that show?
I'm here for the 15-minute, or But that's up to you guys, what you would like.
Personal thought is that that gets assigned to us and where it's due for us to have reviewed that information prior to the next board meeting. And
Then you're gonna have to read my notes on it too, because I
Yep.
didn't put everything in a slide,
Sure.
I talked through some of it, so you just have to read all that too. And there definitely is some dialogue to be had, but we could do that when the group comes together
yeah,
again.
when we review it for the second reading and to see if there's any questions on with policy. And then, can we get, since that first reading wasn't with the red marks for change or anything added,
Oh, I left it on the back.
is it on there?
Apparently not, nope, it's not.
Just, if the second reading could just include what was really changed, it would just help to, there's a way to see that.
Yes, so if you go on our website right now and look up policy 112, you'll see the old one.
Okay.
And
Can you remind us just one last time, you said this is a recommendation or a requirement from the federal government to?
we are required to abide by the new Title IX requirements, yes, unless we are willing to sacrifice all of our federal funds.
So regardless of what we think or feel about it, it's.
Doesn't really matter what we think is good.
Right.
But it would be helpful for you to be knowledgeable.
Right.
It would be helpful for you to be knowledgeable.
Hey, I guess the question is, I mean, do we wanna get together for a special meeting, or are we all willing to just review the information on our own and then come prepared to discuss?
If it is a 15 minutes video, we don't have to meet. But it is above 15 minutes, hour.
It's not a video. It is a PowerPoint presentation that I talked through with everybody.
So that is 15 minutes?
49.
Wasn't timing myself. I don't know exactly how long it took. I don't know if anyone else was timing.
Close to that.
There's two attorneys that have a very elongated version of it, and that is 49 minutes. I can send that one out and you can watch that.
If it is 49 minutes, kind of an hour, so we could get together, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have a tough time finding time between now and September 16th.
Why don't you send out
Yep.
both videos?
And you can choose your
And then
adventure.
we can, we'll choose our adventure.
Yes.
And then if we have questions, we can bring them to the next board meeting and maybe set aside a little extra time for that discussion.
No, that will be a future agenda.
Correct. Then, yes,
Yeah, for September.
for September.
Yeah, future agenda, it makes sense. So everybody should know, all the people.
Right, yeah, that's our point.
Thank you for that
Everyone good with
discussion.
that one?
Good.
All right, July meeting minutes. Here's-
I'll make a motion to approve the July meeting minutes.
Right.
I was here, Brad.
Thank you. I did watch it, I just wasn't there. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? All right, district admin report.
I just have a few things that I would love to highlight. First of all, today was the first day with all staff back in the district. For me, this is one of the most fun and energizing days when the teachers, their big day is the first day with kids. For me, the big day is the first day that all staff are back. So it was just really fun, and the energy in the room when they're all seeing each other again for the first time after break, it was just an awful lot. And there was some really dry trainings that they had to endure, and they were really good troopers about it. So it was a great day to have them all together. I wanted to highlight just briefly, Julie Tiedens has taken back our marketing stuff. I don't know if you have paid attention to our social media stuff, but boy, she is doing a fantastic job. I probably should have highlighted it today when I had all the staff there, but if you haven't taken a look on Facebook, she has just great skill in that whole topic. And she's got some great marketing interns, and she's bringing all them, their skills are just really, really growing fast. And I've had probably 3 parents that have reached out during the month of August that have just said to me, I don't know who's doing your social media, but holy cow, does it look great? And so I just think that's a great way for our best foot to be forward. So I really wanted to thank her for that. I wanted to just clarify, when we were together last month and we were talking about childcare, it was suggested by Iftikhar that we should move forward with childcare with a referendum. And I didn't at the time talk to everybody about why that's not very appealing to me, and I just wanted to have that conversation now. There are state statutes about how often you can go to a referendum. You can only have 2 resolutions per calendar year, which that wouldn't be a problem for us because it's not like in the next 12 months we have another referendum we'd be waiting on. It is already too late to do a referendum for this fall. That means it would be next spring because it has to be on an already scheduled election. That means it would be April before we even knew if we were going to start a child care center, which means we would delay implementation even longer. The other part of a referendum is we have to pay, if the school district is doing a referendum, we have to pay for the polling, we have to pay for the ballots, we have to pay for all of those things. There's great expense in a referendum, and we're not talking about asking for $1 million. We're talking about asking for like $300,000. So our return on investment, we would put in all of this time, effort, and energy to talk to our community about this referendum, and it's for this much money. And so that the output is just, it's imbalance, right? We're gonna have to do all of this and make all those payments for doing a referendum, and we're asking for this much money. The perhaps most compelling reason that I think Fund 80 is a more desirable pathway is we all know that we're a low spending district. The last biennium budget, it was granted that the low spending districts got to increase their spending authority, and we benefited from that. That's how we got to move up in how much we could spend per pupil. If you have a referendum and you fail, the state of Wisconsin will not let you accept any more revenue limit increase. You cannot, if they make another bump up in the low revenue limit during those 3 years, we cannot take advantage of it because they're saying you asked your community for more money, they said no, therefore, even if the biennium budget gives you the authority for more money, you can't take advantage of it for 3 years. So then you look down the road for the next 3 years, we're handcuffing the district to be able to take advantage of possible future funding. So all of that for like $300,000, and we have another vehicle for that through the community service levy. So I just wanted to give you more information as to why a referendum was not as desirable as the community service levy. Does that make sense for everyone, or did I lose you in all of the referendum talk? I just don't like that you're penalized for the next 3 years if people say no.
But we don't have to have a referendum
We
either
do not.
way. We can decide as a board whether or not to,
100%.
right?
And
So I
this-
just wanted to reiterate that.
And this is a non-binding referendum anyways, right? Isn't it?
Nope,
This
nope,
would
nope.
be-
So you, there's the difference. I feel like you're asking about a, my brain is just done today. Advisory. You're asking about an advisory only. I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, there's no value in that.
Okay.
And so I would say listening sessions in the community before I would do that. So, yeah. Like the state does sometimes non-binding, exploratory.
So you can still get feedback, but it's not a referendum, not taking it that far.
Yeah, so we can't be penalized for 3 years. Yeah.
And I did do some asking around, and I've got kind of the business plans and budgets from 2. I'm waiting on a 3rd one. And I also, Brad, you had asked me about different regulations. Well, so there's actually a lot of different.
I've got that whole thing
You-
printed
you-
out.
you got
Oh,
those?
for
Okay.
sure, absolutely,
Beautiful. Okay.
absolutely, yep.
Great.
There, and it's got all the staffing levels that you need and the square footage, and it's the Bible of school-sponsored childcare centers, yep. So one of the things that I heard last month when we were talking about this, that people wanted to be able to really maximize the assistance if that's what we're gonna do. I would love to baby step our way into it as opposed to going from nothing to suddenly, 100 students or 100 kids. There's license for 0 to 50 and then 51 to 100. If we were able to make a decision in October at the annual meeting, if we could start January 1, perhaps next spring we start a little bit smaller and figure some things out so that, because a lot of people are already going to have their childcare plans for this active school year figured out, but then we would be able to possibly expand for the 25-26 school year, that we would maybe seek licensure for that larger group. So that would be my thoughts on that. Any questions about referendum? Otherwise, I just wanted to clarify, because I didn't go into all that last month when we were talking about that possibility. That is it for my report.
Have we got anywhere on
Sustainability?
cost and revenue and that kind of.
Yep, so one of the business models I have, it has taken them 8 years to get to sustainability, but they also learned a lot of lessons along the way about what they charge people coming in. It honestly, I understand that you guys would love to see something in writing, but there's 8,000 decisions to make. How many infants are we gonna take? How many 2-year-olds are we gonna take? How much is gonna be after school care, right? Are we wanting to make it affordable, or are we wanting to make it so that we do break even and then we may or may not fill all the spots? I don't know all of those things, right? So all of those things are choices that we make as we start to build that model, I guess, is what it boils down to. There's another district who says they're sustainable, but they weren't able to show us all of that. Another district said they're much smaller, but they do $50,000 from Fund 80 every single year, and they know they have 11 students who open enroll into their district because of that daycare, and so that offsets that cost pretty significantly. So we're gonna have to decide how big we wanna be and how many people we wanna employ, and I'm concerned, BRAC is also concerned that if we can provide benefits for our people, that we're gonna take all of their employees, and we certainly don't wanna be in competition with them. We want them to be wildly successful and us be successful, because there are enough needs for childcare for everybody to be serving in that, so.
So some of that data that Nick's talking about here, Michelle, do you think there's an opportunity to just give us your best guess in September so that we come to October?
And so what would you want to know? You wanna know what the tax impact would be for everybody for a rough budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
rough, I think understanding like what the impact is gonna be.
Sure. So I can tell you that a district that is close to our size, they serve 100 students and they have a waiting list of about 30. Their entire childcare budget is about $800,000, but they're serving 100 students, and some of that budget is covered by parent fees, by the people paying for those services. So that's kind of one rough, quick example.
So parents are paying, Fund 80 is paying.
A portion, yep.
A portion.
Yep.
So the accumulation of the money to run the system.
Yes, we can show you, you just said that you have a couple. I don't know if we all have the same ones,
That's what I
but.
was just asking, I said, which ones did she grab?
Okay.
So, I mean,
Yep.
if it's realistic that we're gonna try to make a decision on this in October, I mean, I'm feeling deprived of data myself
Okay.
to make a decision.
2 months.
So.
Okay. So we can show you other districts' budgets and tell you what factors go into those decisions. And my thinking was that you guys were going to, so my process in my head that we have not talked about out loud is that we would show you some different models, different budgets, and then you would tell us how much you were comfortable levying in Fund 80, and that would strongly determine how many students we were able to serve. You have to decide how much money you're willing to invest into it, and then we develop the programming around what you're willing to invest, if that makes sense. Because the sky's the limit, right? Or the classroom space is the limit, depending on what age of students we take.
Yeah, I think that's probably a bigger key, is we know we have a particular amount of space, and
Yep. The audit is behind Jill now, and so she and I will, well, not quite, they're still asking for things. They're not on
here.
site anymore.
Yeah, they're not here.
She and I will put together some things and make sure you get it well before the September meeting. And then, so if we get it to you maybe the week before that meeting, perhaps you guys could ask us a bunch of those questions ahead of time so that we can be prepared with the answers, make sure that we have all the numbers and stuff at that meeting.
Did they discuss, Shelley, retaining staff and if they've had difficulties with
Their teaching staff or their childcare staff?
childcare
Yeah.
staff?
I was really surprised at I really was surprised. So there was one example that I don't know how they got away with not giving those people benefits, because so the requirement to offer benefits is dependent on how many employees an organization has. So we have so many employees, we must offer if they work more than 35 or 36. 30 hours, neither of the above, 30 hours per week. BRAC doesn't have enough employees that they have to provide benefits, right? And so that is, of people who are interested in doing that work, that is a significant factor. We also will have the advantage that Sarah Halverson at the high school already has one of the 2 classes necessary for students to be childcare licensed. She has one of them already articulated, so they get college credits for it and they take it there. And then that could be a work co-op that we're hoping to be able to use some of our high school students for some of those pieces. We have a lot of aides who are, what we would envision is that they're sharing time between a building, when we're fully staffed, a building and at the child care center. So it is definitely going to be a problem because staffing is a problem. But I'm pretty confident that we would have our teaching positions, at least the sped ones, filled if we provided daycare, because that has been the factor in people applying, so.
And the $300,000, for example, up front would cover like the setup costs of opening a daycare, and buying all of the equipment and everything that we would need.
Yeah. The other advantage that we would have over a daycare center is, like, we have Connie Siebert and all of the food programs. She's very confident that there would be a food program that we would be able to maximize so that that barrier would be removed. I met with a local childcare provider who's been in it for a really long time. She wanted to meet last week, and she talked about maybe there's some at-home providers who would want to rent a space, and that might work, but then they have to meet all the at-home provider requirements. We as a school district don't have to meet all those requirements because we're in the kid business. So I want them to feel engaged in the conversation and their voices at the table, but I'm not sure that we would serve as many kids if they were all at-home providers just under one roof. Nor do I think there's enough of them to fill the roof.
Doesn't feel like that would actually fill
Help.
the demand.
Increase.
Right. They're just moving as opposed to increasing. So anyway, lots of conversations.
Good talks, everyone. Keep talking about it. All right, WSB, other? Anyone?
No, I'm the next one.
All right, how about conference or workshop attendance then, Michaela?
Yeah, went to one last month. It was different.
What was it?
It was a public education, just the National Public Education Association put it on, and it was not the Wisconsin School Board Association, which was the first one that I went to, and I thought that was brilliant and beautiful. And this other one was definitely informational, very different type of content. Found it really interesting, but probably less applicable to kind of the decision making we're doing in this setting. So I would go again, I guess. I just it wasn't as relevant, I felt like, in the moment as to what we're up to. So
Thanks. School board connection opportunities. So I got a couple of dates I want to make sure I'm not missing here. Tomorrow we're meeting again 5 p.m. at Forest Street. Thursday is the district-wide open house from 2 to 6. Those are the big ones I have in the immediate future. Anyone else have any more?
Thursday was the open house.
Thursday is the district open house. Remember, have your kids picture ready. It's picture day as well.
Thursday, 2 o'clock?
2 to 6.
Where?
It's an open house, so each of the school buildings will be open and parents will be coming in to meet their kids' teachers and drop off all their school supplies and stuff.
The board member don't need to be there, right?
You're invited. You always say you're not invited. You're invited, Iftikhar.
I'm working.
Okay, well, you're invited. From 2 to 6, any building.
And I get to meet with my constituent?
As long as you're not interrupting parents as they're trying to do their business, yes.
Wonderful.
Just a lot of high school athletics starting this week.
Yep.
And we should, speaking of that, another thing I forgot to put on my notes here, wanted to mention that the columns are in for the scoreboard. They look straight, plumb, I should say plumb, right? And the scoreboard is, at this point, looks like it will be up and functional by our first home game on the 30th.
Yeah, there's a JV game or C-team game on Monday the 23rd, and that staff is really hoping it's ready then, and there's a soccer game on Tuesday. So
we're hoping for Monday.
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
I talked to them last Friday, they were thinking painting today and tomorrow and then starting to put it up Wednesday, so. Should be
We're hoping.
good.
And we
Just wanted to
appreciate
clarify,
all
if we're
your-
gonna put out there, we need it the 30th, no, we really need it the 23rd.
The signage on top.
26th.
Might
26th.
Oh, 26, sorry.
Mine is 26th.
Sorry.
you'll get there. Before homecoming.
No, stop it. Stop it.
I'm sending every single question
I don't even
from every
want
single
that,
coach
but-
to you.
October 4th.
Future agenda items?
Yeah, for the future agenda, I have a few things. First of all, I requested Casey West, even on the email, my request for the future agenda was not on the display.
So I thought you were gonna talk about what you wanted to when I put on the instructional grouping committee update, cause that's when you presented that. And then when we talked about the instructional grouping update, you didn't bring it up.
I did bring it up, I said both, in this regular meeting and also in our small meeting. So I would like to place this document once again for the future agenda, and you already have it, I send it to you, and I send it to you.
What did you want me to do with it?
I would like to talk about it, that whatever the board member requests for the future agenda, please display it.
That I don't control that.
Brad.
I think so.
I set the agenda.
No, you were absent, but he was there.
But
But he said
I
6
still set the agenda.
So you disagree with my future agenda?
I don't know what that is, that doesn't.
Because you were absent. He was there, he was residing on your place as a vice president.
Right, I still set the agenda for the July meeting, even though I couldn't be there, I set the agenda for
So
this
you
meeting.
didn't get it.
Did you email that to me? That doesn't.
I emailed it to him and Shelley.
No, then I did not get it, obviously.
Okay, so no problem, a small mistake. So please place this in the future agenda for the next board meeting.
What would you title that?
Scanner number 2.
Say that one more time?
I already tested, there's only one scanner. This was the scanner 2.
Screener? Is that?
Scanner.
What did you say?
Scanner?
Scanner? I don't.
Where is
Screener.
Screener. It is her word she created, so I just borrowed from Sullivan.
What is that?
What are we reviewing?
Oh, I will talk about it so everybody can hear. It's a future agenda.
Got it.
So if we talk before agenda, it is against the open meeting laws or something like that.
We're in the meeting, so we can talk.
No, it has to be an agenda.
I believe that topic was one of the pieces that Casey said, how about that subcommittee works through that, because that was my understanding. And so
I
that's
clearly sent you even an email.
after the fact you did, and I shared with Brad when we were making the agenda that it was part of that instructional grouping subcommittee. So he said, great, if he wants to talk about it, he can talk about it then. You chose not to talk about it.
But that's okay. So just please place it on the future agenda.
Why don't you leave a copy of that with Brad, and then we can determine how much time we want to spend on it.
Yeah, maybe 5-10 minutes, not much. Because I have been begging May 6, 2023. This is how I have been respected in this board. Look at the date. It's such an old document. I just wanted to show the new board member, this is how I have been treated. It's a more than a year old document. You do not want to express my opinions. So just I don't want to argue about it. And number 2 thing is, today we came with some discussion in a future agenda. Please place, there are in the first and second grade students at this moment, 135 are behind. Let's stop that problem right there. In English they say nip in the bud. That is my point.
So do you have a proposal you would like to put forward
Yes,
then?
I have a proposal.
Okay, write just a 1-page summary of it and we'll put it in a future agenda item.
Yes. Okay. So I will send you the proposal in a 1-page agenda.
Knowing that the board has already approved the budget for this year and our budget is balanced, so your proposal can't be to add staff at this point, or it's not worth everybody's time, because I just want to be clear, right? Because the board has already approved and adopted a budget for this year, which was balanced, right?
With the money that you identified on the spreadsheet earlier,
Yeah, $20 million.
that's already been allocated.
We'll figure it out. So, since we don't have money, everything is settled, and we did not know 130 are behind. And we just made a decision, and we left them behind. This is what I don't like. When it comes to education, please take it seriously. How come we make a budget after ignoring them?
Iftikhar, these wonderful people have been sitting here telling you these action plans to catch these kids up. That's what they've been doing every board meeting we've been at. They're pulling numbers up and showing us their action plan to fix that. We're not doing nothing. Look, if you're listening, they're beautiful, beautiful plans.
Yes, I would like to see a digit. These are human beings, 135.
Correct, I agree.
Did you see in anybody's presentation a digit? I always bring a digit, a concrete data which provided by our own school. It is not I have borrowed from OMA or...
This gentleman brought a beautiful spreadsheet that had been fixed. The data had been fixed. He had beautiful digits, all the digits.
And
it showed all the wonderful things that he was doing and the outcomes that he was seeing. That's what every single board meeting we've been at is addressing just this.
135?
Yeah, the 135, that's what we're talking about.
I just came up a few minutes ago, I was calculating.
They've been calculating it.
You also saw that.
Did anybody know there's 135 are behind?
I think we all know.
Exact number.
Sure, because we've gone over 1,012 times.
So I will send my proposal to you for the future agenda. Please keep posting me in the future agenda. I will be not with you for forever. Let's fix the education on the first place.
Okay. Other future agenda items? Right. Otherwise, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I second.
It's moved, Michaela second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Amy and Michaela, swipe aye. Opposed?
No,
motion, we got 2 seconds.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. We should be luck.
I did not sleep today before staff, so by this point I'm just like stupid. I'm just stupid.